Good evening. I'm calling to order this regular meeting of the Town of Thompson Planning and Zoning Commission. It is Monday, September 23rd, 2024 at 7:04 p.m. We are in the Thompson Library and on Zoom. I now ask everyone to stand as they are able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
So they're doing like the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I will now take the roll. Mr. Lenke.
All set there, Mr. Perotti?
He's calling roll.
Oh, he's calling roll. Go ahead. You want me to call the roll?
He's calling roll.
Okay.
He wants you to.
John B. Lanky, present.
Mr. St. Ange.
Jason Sean.
You know, I don't know how to.
Dave.
Dave Poplowski, present.
Randy Piper, present. Alvin Hill, present.
James Stolz, present.
Russell Robin, present.
Ray Williams, present.
Mike Earl, present.
Barry Jordan, present.
Ryan Canoyer, present.
Okay, so we'll seat Mr. St. Ange for Mr. Santos. And now at this time, I'm going to request, with my being online, the challenges of seeing those in the room, I'm going to request that the vice chair serve as acting chair for this evening's meeting. And we'll ask the recording secretary to indicate Mr. Lenke as the acting chair in the minutes, if there is no objection. Okay, hearing none, Mr. Lenke.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph Brody Brown. All right. We're gonna do item 3.
Mr. Chairman,
Hang on a minute. Okay, go ahead.
I have a paper here that has some stuff on it about point of order. It is conducive to have a meeting that doesn't get chaotic. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands what point of order is. The board members are the only ones that can call point of order. You all will have a chance to speak, and we're here for you.
Not able to hear the commissioners at the table.
Sally, we've got some audio visual challenges in here. The commissioners have been asked to project as well as they can. But we have very limited capacity. So we've just asked the people in the room to be respectfully quiet when they're not speaking and the commissioners to speak as loudly as they can.
Thank you for that.
Are we, anything else further? Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Halsey. And we'll go forward now on the public hearing of P&Z 24-18, applicant Roland Amalling. I hope I said that correctly. And Michelle Chipman, property owners of Zero Hill Road, map 126, block 15, lot 7, zone RRAD, 1.59 acres, requests a special permit to conduct a micro cultivation facility of adult use cannabis according to Article 14, use regulation section 275-14-7, retail alcohol and adult use cannabis, and Article 7, section 275-7.2, table of permit uses, number 13, cannabis micro cultivate. Do I hear a motion? Excuse me?
No, John, you just opened the public hearing. The public hearing is open. No motion is needed at this time.
That's what I understand. I asked for a motion for a public hearing.
Sorry, John, this application has already been accepted for public hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, we just,
So for the applicant, which would be first.
Okay, sorry, jumped the gun. We will have a moment here to listen to the applicants on the issue at hand. Either Roland or Michelle may be able to step up and speak. Right over there, sure.
Yeah.
It'll be closer for her.
And I'll face both. Just a point of record, it's a typo, I think my name is Ronald.
Sorry.
On the side, then you can.
You have to pay for admission.
Oh, very good. And do you have the, are you gonna put the presentation on, or will people?
I don't have it, I don't think.
Oh, okay.
I'll look for it, but you do your talk now, I'll see what I can.
Sure, yeah, well, just a little bit of introduction. Michelle and I are residents of Thompson. We're US history buffs, local history buffs. And we were drawn to Thompson by its rural and residential nature. You know, it's very peaceful, as you all know. And a little bit of an introduction. I've worked in the environment, health and safety sector of healthcare for the past 35 years. I spent most of my time protecting the environment from, you know, all manner of manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, industrial x-rays, and you know, university research setting. Michelle has worked in healthcare. She's currently self-employed, but has worked in healthcare for over 35 years. So that's kind of the background we're coming from. Why we're here, as the chair mentioned, you know, we have a special permit application for micro cultivation of cannabis in the rural residential agricultural district, RRAD, which is a permitted use, which was promulgated by, you know, one of the recent Thompson ordinances, making provisions for this special permit. So our application is submitted in accordance with that. And we have a little bit of a, a formal plan for you to review. And today we're at a public hearing because one of the steps of that special permit application is the public hearing process. Our proposal is on Lot C, 0 Hill Road, Thompson, Connecticut. Our proposal involves a micro cultivation of cannabis within a fenced-in, secure, 24-hour monitored outdoor grow space of about 8,800 square feet. Now, the Connecticut regulations limit that micro cultivation facility or grow space between 2,000 square feet as a minimum, you know, to kind of weed out people who are just going to grow in their backyard for fun, and a maximum of 10,000 square feet. So our proposal is around 8,800 square feet on the piece of property that we're talking about. The grow space location, and I don't know if we can see the picture on the last slide, is the you know, the proposed lot is about 1.59 acres. And the bottom 2/3 of that lot is open meadow, which looks beautiful from the road, and that will not change. The proposed grow area of 8,800 square feet is in the upper wooded area, and there's quite a bit of open space there to, you know, have an outdoor grow area for these plants. Let's see. Some of the questions folks have had, or we might anticipate, have to do with fertilizers, pesticides, runoff, impact to groundwater, wetlands, etc. You know, our plants will be grown in above ground fabric grow bags, 10 to 20 gallon capacity each. The soil is an organic soil with organic fertilizer, and it's a blend that enhances water retention. So in that microclimate, in that area, the normal annual rainfall should be sufficient for those plants to grow. And if it needs supplemental water, there's a well already on site, and we'll use drip irrigation to minimize evaporation, runoff, things like that. Drip irrigation would be directly right into those grow bags to feed the plants. As far as insect or pest control, you know, it's kind of industry standard to use these yellow and blue sticky traps, which attract certain pests that are common amongst cannabis plants. So those are typically what are used versus spraying pesticides or insecticides It's a passive system where the sticky traps are around the plants in various areas. And the insects or the pests that are common to cannabis are attracted to those colors and they fly towards the color and stick to them. So it's a great passive system that doesn't introduce any pesticides or chemicals into the environment. There was a wetland review, or at least a analysis, and this is well over 100 feet away from the wetlands. You can see on the map, if any of you have the map of that property, the wetland is down below in the lower kind of 1/5 of that property. And this grow area is certainly well enough away from that wetlands area. Some of the feedback we've gotten from, as we've talked to our neighbors and folks online and gotten some feedback, some of the questions that we've had or potential nuisances. We certainly don't want to be a nuisance to our neighbors or to our community. We want to be a contributing member to the town. Noise, there's no noise associated with growing crops and maybe using our lawn tractor to tote soil from where we live up through the back across the woods and into the grow area. Lighting, the crops use natural sunlight, so we don't have any, giant lamp posts with spotlights aiming in all sorts of directions. There should be no visual nuisances. This area is way up in the back of that piece of property where you have woodland between the road and the grow area, and the abutting properties are all heavily wooded or covered with brush and so on. So there should be no visual impact. Odor should be minimal to none, depending on the types of plants that we intend to grow, depending on the quantity, the number of plants you intend to grow. And we will intend to put a 10 by 20 drying shed, which is used at harvest time, sometime between, say, late September to early and mid-October. And when the flower or the buds are drying, that's when you get the most odor, and that will be controlled by activated charcoal filtration, drawn by fans through activated charcoal filters. And that should absorb the odors and take care of that. Odor can also be minimized by the choice of the strain of the plant that you grow. It's kind of a variety of any other flower that you might grow in your garden. Some have stronger smells, some have weaker smells. And we can grow based on the strain characteristics, including odor. We can also grow companion plants nearby, like lilacs or lavender, which will enhance the scent of that particular area and minimize any odor impact, if any. Traffic, there'll be absolutely no traffic to this site. This is not a facility where we grow cannabis, cure it, and then sell it, out of our house or on the street or at a farm stand. This crop will be grown, harvested, and sold directly to dispensaries or other processors within Connecticut. So there is absolutely no, people trying to get there to park and buy or what have you. So there's no traffic whatsoever. And the only people who'll be tending these crops will be Michelle and I. So it's not like we'll have an army of employees out, monitoring the plants and harvesting them when they are ready. The plants, as I mentioned, are grown in fabric bags using organic, and I can't stress this enough, organic and natural fertilizer. There are no artificial ingredients in the soil, so any water that goes in is typically taken up by the plant. If there's any runoff, it'll go into the soil and only serve to enhance the ground more. Let's see. We've also had some feedback about potential property value impact. And, there've been really no specific studies about a negative impact on property values around cannabis facilities. There are some studies that are few and far between, which will show that property values can actually increase around cannabis facilities. But there aren't any around a specific micro cultivation facility because this is relatively new in this area. So let's see. Okay. And last but not least, certainly, the benefits to the town of Thompson and the state of Connecticut. As we all know, cannabis is a fairly heavily taxed crop and commodity. The second bullet talks about providing tax revenue to Thompson. The first bullet speaks to restoring this land to its original and historical use. It's within the residential rural agricultural district. So by definition, this is a permitted or an allowed use. And we're, following the procedure and the steps that have been laid out in the special permit process, make sure that we take all the steps necessary so that this grow facility, outdoors, mind you, fenced in and secured, would be a success. So we also want to make note that this lot was once part of a 200-acre plus farm, established in the 1700s, and it's kind of laying idle for the past, I guess, whatever 1700 to now is 325 years or so. The rest of the property around there has been used for farming. If you drive around that area, there's the cornfields, there's everything around there. So, and then on the last slide is the lot plan. Well, that's one lot plan of how we'll go from our current property at 196 Hill Road and bring our tractor over to the parcel in question. There's no road on that property. There's no driveway on that property. So there's really no means to get a vehicle on that property other than to go from our current residential property over to there through a passage in the woods up there to get to it. Just a note about security. There's been concerns about that, people hopping the fence to steal all this cannabis. And, basically from seed until you're just about to harvest, cannabis plants are essentially worthless. You can't steal an immature cannabis plant and smoke it or sell it or do anything with it. And when the cannabis plants flower and they're ready to be harvested and dried, even during that process, they're relatively worthless because unless you steal all the plants and then bring them to your own drying facility and go through that process, you can't use that cannabis and it's not worth anything. So, again, until we harvest it and process it ourselves, and will it be ready for sale to a dispensary or some other processor within. And I think that's most of the points that I wanted to make. Did the commissioners have any questions offhand or need any clarification? Yes. Sure.
There are 3 known cannabis plants to grow. What type of cannabis plant are you planning to grow?
Right, we'll be, and what are the 3 types that they are stated?
INDICA.
Sure.
Sativa.
Yeah, we'll be growing a variety of those 2 varieties. Those are the 2 main varieties, but within each cannabis variety, there are a number of, basically an infinite number of strains, which you can purchase either from seed banks or from genetic banks. And so really the choices are unlimited.
So what height are you planning your particular plant to be?
These plants will be managed and trimmed to stay at about 4 to 5 feet high and trained to be more bushy than these, you see examples of these giant plants that are 15 feet tall and look monstrous. These will be more maybe the height or a little bit taller than this projector stand here. Because as they're growing, you can cut them, kind of like how the Christmas tree growers do. They keep trimming them and trimming them, so you end up at the end with the Christmas tree shape. These would be trained and groomed to just grow as a smooth shrub.
What parts of the cannabis plant are you planning to harvest?
Well, we'll be harvesting the flower, the top, or it buds throughout the shrub. So we'll be harvesting those buds and drying them. You can also sell the rest of the plant to a processor who can then extract materials from that for other products, and those would be within the state of it.
But therefore, you're just after the ATC, not after the hemp use and the stem. Rather than just getting rid of it, selling it?
Well, yeah, you can sell the rest of the stem to a processor who will then do their own extractions and make their own products from it.
With your harvest, will you be transferring products yourself, or will you have cannabis distributors on your site to remove and transport the product
Sure, we'll be transporting that ourselves.
yourself?
Yeah.
The area of the plant bags cannabis you planted can you describe the ground surface area? In other words, the soil is going to be turned over, left as is, how will you approach it?
That's a good question. The soil will be left as is. These plants are grown in grow bags, which are 10 gallons. They're about 16 inches in diameter and about 15 inches tall, filled with a couple of cubic feet of soil. And so those will be placed on the ground and maintained that way.
If as is, like you just said.
Yep.
How do you propose to prevent or maintain it free of invasive plants?
Well, that's part of, as part of any gardening, you would go out there daily or at some frequency and cut away invasive plants, and make sure that they don't interfere with either. The primary issue with invasive plants is kind of blocking sunlight. So if you have vines that are growing or other plants that are nearby that are invasive, you simply cut those down and eliminate those, and then keep at it, based kind of like in your yard.
This one's not here. Thorn bush everywhere.
Oh, sure, we've experienced.
The growth forever until you kill it.
Yeah, we've had that. It's called like Japanese knotweed or something. It looks almost like bamboo. And we have that in other parts of our property. And we've just been on a pretty strict regimen just to maintain that open pasture down there of just mowing it every 2 weeks. Once we knocked it down with a weed whacker, because they can get pretty thick and pretty tall. But we cut that down and we maintain it with a riding mower and just keep it at bay, basically.
If you are approved by the committee,
Mhm.
how soon do you believe you will receive your state license? Knowing you will have to be included in the next state lottery to be allowed to micro-cultivate that?
Right, and that's a question that right now has no specific answer. As you stated, the state of Connecticut issues or reviews license applications on either a lottery basis or a social equity basis or a social equity partner basis. We don't fit into any of the social equity categories because we're not an impacted either group or neighborhood, which exists in other parts of Connecticut. So this would be strictly by lottery. And the lottery, the push out, so to speak, of lottery permit applications or license applications is governed by the Connecticut legislature. So they will direct the regulators to say, all right, we need it. Yeah, exactly. So they will, hold a lottery for X number of licenses, and that number is exhaustive.
June 12th was the last date that
Correct.
No date.
Right.
You plan to have backers for your business or plans for a micro cultivator license with licensed back?
No.
No. Do you apply for law? This be June 12th. Can you explain to the commission what you mean by provide sales tax revenue to the town of Thompson in the state of Connecticut?
Sure. Well, the cannabis sales are taxed at a fairly high rate, and the state takes their portion, the local township takes their portion.
You realize, see, I was written down 3% municipal tax on the gross receipts by the
Correct.
municipality. But the municipality tax is exempt to transfer of cannabis to a transporter. With your license to transport cannabis, you will be exempt by supplying 3% sales tax.
If you use a transport. Is that correct?
You will go, you need a license for micro cultivation. You
Correct.
also need it to transfer. You're going to have to vote.
We'll be doing our own transporter. The transporter license is for companies engaged strictly in transporting for other companies within Connecticut.
So you're gonna transfer.
self-transport, correct.
Dollars.
Well, not without a license, implying that a license is required, and we're not gonna get a license. It's because a license is not required.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want, I mean, I understand your lot size and everything else. Approximately, how many plants do you think you are going to be growing?
A maximum of up to about 300 plants total. That would be a conservative number, you know, on the max side.
Okay, the growth, see, I know some cultivators in Massachusetts, not in Connecticut. My concern is for the smell.
Mhm.
I'm a child of the fifties and sixties, so.
Sure.
And it's changed, obviously, but it still has that good aroma. And we can, I'm sorry. it is
Benefit.
good aroma. My concern is the aroma. It
Sure.
does have, in fact, I pass one almost weekly. And they've got the building and everything else, and you can still smell it.
Sure. Well,
And the
what,
charcoal filters take care of some of it. They really don't take care of it.
understood, yeah, and those cultivation facilities that you're speaking of are on a much larger scale.
No, one of them that I'm thinking of right now is not. It's about the same size that you have. It's not as bad as the growing place in Webster up by the Price Chopper.
Mhm.
Because that's massive. This is more along the lines of what your size is gonna be. And when I drive by it, I do smell it.
Right, alternatives that we're looking at as well, and to address that exact concern is to, right upon harvest, you can go to a chilled cure, dry to cure in an
Yeah.
automated climate controlled environment where no odors will escape from that. So you go straight from, and some of these go from either a capacity of 2.5 pounds to 180 pounds to 360 pounds at a time. So, and those would be self-contained, and so that mitigates, because now you're at a cold temperature and you're actually decreasing the the off gassing of those.
Now, when you are transporting, I am assuming it is going to be going to dispensaries.
Correct, or other processors, either
Okay.
folks that extract, you
Yeah.
know, and create hash or rosin, you know, for other uses that would be incorporated into tinctures, gummies, and other products that people may take versus flour that they would then smoke.
Okay, and the dispensaries, I guess they'd be all across Connecticut. It doesn't necessarily mean this area.
Correct, right. It doesn't mean we're gonna be like driving from our place to the Live, which just opened up. You know, we've got the full list of, you know, licensed facilities from Connecticut. And we've started making connections with some of those facilities so that, you know, we don't end up with plants that we can't.
Can't sell, that's what I was.
Can't sell, exactly.
Next question.
Yes,
You
we're-
do have things lined up.
Correct,
for district.
yeah.
Okay.
And of course, you know.
Thank you, Mr. Salsi.
Yeah, I guess.
Mr. Hill, and then it'll be you, Mr. Williams.
To your potential nuisance, you say that your 10 by 20 drying shed will be equipped with the state-of-the-art charcoal filter exhaust system.
Mhm.
Automated drying film system to capture nuisance. How are you planning to, what type of energy are you going to use to run this particular?
Sure, yeah, a typical 10 by 20 drying shed would require about two 10-inch diameter fans running at, I think they pull 10 cubic feet per minute. So you're talking, you know, whatever the power consumption of that is minimal, you know, and that would be accounted
So
for.
how are you planning, you going to have electricity going?
Oh,
out?
sure, yes, we'd have a commercial company run power to that particular shed.
Underground or?
It would be underground, and we've spoken with the zone. Correct,
From your residence to?
correct. And we've spoken, obviously, with Cindy. We would make sure that all of that is done in, obviously, in the normal permitted fashion. like anyone else's electric work or building permit.
Are you all set, Mr. Hill?
Yeah.
Mr. Williams?
Okay, it says that, it meets our regulations, and our regulations on section, 3C, section 6, for emergency, there's supposed to be a road to the work area where emergency personnel could, get to that area if there's something going on. If you only have a cop path for, a lawnmower, how would, if something happens up there?
Sure.
Emergency vehicles.
Yeah, I don't know if we can show the last picture of the most current presentation, or actually I can bring this over to you.
Well, it'd be good if everybody was it.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think there should be added one with that picture, but.
Okay, well, the,
Yeah, it doesn't look like I have that one in this packet.
Sir, where would you gonna be situating this entrance? It's gonna be coming off of 7.
Leave that out.
sure, yeah, if you leave the
Yeah.
last picture up, if you're speaking of emergency vehicles, if you can scroll up just a bit.
Hold on, let me get the screen share.
Sure.
There we go.
Sure, if we scroll up just a bit, once that bottom ribbon goes away, if it does. You'll see the Hill Road runs right along the front of it. Now, right where that wetlands corner is, there is a break in the stone wall, whether that was intentional or from a prior owner of that property. There's been several people, even in this room, who have owned that property. For whatever reason, though, there is a break in that stone wall, and that would be emergency services could make it up there, although we won't be intending to use it as a road. It could serve for emergency services to get there.
My question to you, sir, is that I know where the wall, it's a break in the wall is, that's right in front of where you got the dock area, which would be considered the wetlands, correct?
Sure, yeah,
So that means you're gonna have to put the path, if you wanted to get up there for emergency vehicle, towards the left side where it's clear, white.
well, you can also use it, sorry to interrupt, but if you see the house on Hill Road, which is on the lower right-hand corner, that's our actual house, and the driveway is to the left of that house. And to the driveway, on the driveway to the left of that house, if you turn left, as you go in the driveway, you go right onto flat land. You could drive right into that road if you needed to.
And that driveway has already been accepted years ago by wetlands, so that's already established. So you're not disrupting that driveway.
My question, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, so you can, emergency vehicles could access that through either the break in the wall, because it's, even though it's a wetland, 99% dry right now, we've had a dry summer. I mean, that varies depending on, you could get stuck 2 weeks from now if you went in at the wrong angle, but certainly emergency service, you go in the paved driveway that's right next to there and it's wide
So
open.
you're gonna be pretty much using the path that you got, that you're gonna use to get up to the place?
Yeah, that will be where we use our small tractor to get from our residence up through the woods without bothering anybody or creating a road on that property and
Okay.
going through the woods to them. Yes,
So an ambulance would be able to make it up there if it had.
yes, of course.
Are there any other questions?
I've got-
Mr. Benoit. Go, Mr. Popolowski.
So I've got a few questions, but they're more to Rich, but I guess some feedback from the applicant as well. So in the state policies and procedures, specifically calls out commercial cultivator may label, manufacture, package, and perform extractions on any cannabis cultivated, grown, and propagated as at its licensed establishment, provided it meets all licensing and application requirements for a food and beverage manufacturer, product manufacturer, or product packager as applicable. So my question is, hearing the presentation, would they be required to have those licenses? A packaging license, a food processing license, for what they're doing for the product?
I think they would be required to get whatever those licenses are contained within the state cannabis regulations, because they have separate food packaging and product packaging regulations in the state cannabis regulations. Depending on what it is they did with the product, they would have to comply with consumer protection requirements associated with those different activities.
Okay, So as opposed to farming, in that aspect, it would be a bit different.
Yeah, and there's no processing of that, like creating beverages or doing all of those things other than placing the harvested crop into a bag, after it's been dried or and cured, putting that into a bag or container of some sort and bringing it to the final destination,
Well,
processor or
I
dispenser.
can't believe how much I've learned of cannabis in the past month.
Sure.
I know that, it's called out where each plant almost has a birth certificate. You have to follow that.
Correct, yes, there's a seed to sale requirement in Connecticut. So yes, each plant that you plant, well, each seed that you plant, you account for. Every plant you account for, so if you have loss due to weather or, an animal gets over your fence and runs through and bites, whatever may happen, or you're gone for a week for a vacation and the watering system, stops working.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, I'm just calling, it's a little bit different than what farming would be.
Sure.
So my next one is, again, back to policies and procedures. If a retailer, hybrid retailer, micro cultivator maintains a secure cannabis return location for undeliverable cannabis that is accessible from the exterior of the establishment, you're calling out a shed. Now, you're doing these deliveries. If you don't have a delivery that gets returned, you don't have the proper birth certificate for the cannabis plants. Where is that plant where it's saying that it has to go back to an establishment? And I'm thinking that the shed that's built on this property is not the establishment you're gonna take that back to.
No, if we have plants that are either left unsold or we go to deliver to some facility and they reject it for some reason, then it'll be brought back to our site and disposed of. You typically grind it up with cat litter, make it unrecognizable, unusable, and then dispose of it. By however the Consumer Protection Bureau requires.
I was just gonna ask that question and have to be.
Yeah, they have requirements of how you do that as well.
Yes.
The state has a very comprehensive set of rules. The special permit application is not vaguely worded, but it's like, here's how you can do your special permit. And the state is super regulated and very detail oriented, down to the last, as you mentioned, seed to sale. And then what happens if the sale gets turned away for whatever reason?
On the rejected loads too, you'd have the option to resell it, I believe, if you.
Yes,
had to.
you can.
You don't have to dispose of it.
Correct. You
Clear
could
on
have
that.
it retested and then you could.
And the other clarification too, on Dave had a great question, I think,
Sure.
for someone that is learning about the business. I think that another more direct way to answer that question would be the processor would have the burden at that point on the licensing side to answer the question. So if you sold it to a processor or a dispensary, I don't think that was clarified earlier, so I was going to clarify that point.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead. Oh,
I guess I'm not clear because it says it has to come back from this establishment. I guess that you're saying that's your house. Because it clearly states that it has to be deposited, it has to be brought back to a establishment and safeguard its contents and quality thereof. So you'd have to bring it back and destroy it right away.
Right, not to our house. We bring it back to our on-site building, the 10 by 20 shed, which will make our property go from 0 Hill Road to an actual address at that point, once you put a permanent structure.
Okay.
Dave, if you give me a couple minutes, let Jane jump in.
Yeah.
And we'll get right back to you.
Yep.
Fencing.
Yes.
I know the state requires certain fencing. What kind of fencing are you gonna be putting up?
Yeah, our proposal initially will be a 6-foot black chain link fence so that it kind of blends in. You won't see that from the street. In other words, it won't be a white vinyl fence that would be an eyesore. And certainly the state licensing process requires that you submit all of that application and then they do a thorough review of your security plan. And they modify it or impose new conditions or specify in some cases what in fact you will need to do. But the initial plan is to have the suitable fencing along with motion sensing, cameras, and theft prevention from our security.
I was talking to somebody and they were saying that their understanding was that the state is requiring a 12-foot fence. Is that something
It's
you're
12.
running
Yeah.
to?
I'm sorry.
12 foot.
Oh,
I can read the statute.
Again, if that's the case, we would certainly,
Sure.
'cause- oh,
Sure, hang on, go
Yes.
ahead, Sarah, read that.
I anticipated these questions, so I printed out the copy from the statute. So section 21A-421J-7, cannabis establishment, minimum security systems and equipment requirements. In addition to the security and equipment requirements set forth in subsection A, which is not relevant to this, of this section, producers, cultivators, and micro cultivators that maintain an outdoor grow, which may be non-contiguous, provided each unique area comprising the total outdoor grow is delineated by an identifiable boundary, shall maintain additional security and operational requirements for such operations to ensure access is limited to authorized persons. Such additional requirements shall include: 1, a fence surrounding the perimeter of the outdoor operation that is not less than 12 feet in height, constructed of 9-gauge or lower metal chain link or similarly secure material approved by the department, and screened in a way to fully obscure the view from outside of the fenced area. 2, all points of ingress and egress shall, 1A, be illuminated by at least a 20-foot radius of lighting, which shall be continuously lit or activated by motion sensors. And 2B, have video surveillance that captures at least a 20-foot radius from the point of ingress or egress. And 3C, be secured by commercial grade locks. And 3, all lighting shall be shielded and downward casting to limit outward light emittance. That is the most updated from the Department of Consumer Protection.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
I'm good. Thank
You're good? We'll go back to you, Dave. What?
Can I, if I heard that correctly, it said it's the, maximum or minimum of 12 feet.
A minimum of 12 feet.
So with that, he has to have a building permit and he has to adhere to his setbacks, which I don't think is gonna be a problem.
Because it's over 18.
Yes, but he definitely has to get a
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
oh, 100%, sure.
okay, hang on there. sir.
Oh, yeah, no, we're good, yeah.
You're not gonna be sitting down right away. Go ahead, Mr. Dave.
Yeah, the only other thing I had was all packaging itself shall be conducted indoors, protected from air, water, and extreme temperatures. And I guess this is all taking place in the shed. That's my.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And your shed will have all the proper.
Sure, it'll have,
requires for. proper
Exactly,
procedure.
and that's a good point, because the state will scrutinize this plan left, right, up and
Upside
down.
down.
So that will, that's a formal process that we certainly need to adhere to.
Ms. Salsi, let him finish one more question and then I'll get to you.
Okay.
So does that shed, because it plays such an integral part of this whole permit, should that be included in this permit?
It's under 200 square feet, just because the zoning permit for it.
Okay.
And he has to be 5 feet away from the fountain. So, no, it doesn't need a building permit for that. Yeah, that's a matter of opinion whether it should have been included or not, we just know he's doing a shed.
Sure, and that was a proposed, the shed on there, because that would be, the maximum dimensions of something we would need for this type of
But
process.
there's no- Go ahead.
When I do the permit, because it's on recording, it'll be wherever condition. If that shed's over 200 square feet, well, then he's violated his condition, so.
Correct.
I will be checking that, I or whoever's in that position will be checking it's 200 square feet.
But he will have the option if he ever decided to expand, but then he's gotta come in for that permit.
Well, you'd have to amend the permit, yeah,
Okay,
yes.
just if we didn't bring that up.
Sure.
Okay, we go, hang on, Mr. Hill. Go ahead, Ms.
Okay,
Salsi.
so the permit process is closed for this year, obviously. So you will be able to apply when?
We watch for the consumer protection site to announce when they're going to be releasing more license applications. So, and that is initiated by an action by the Connecticut legislature, and they typically, and it's anyone's guess basically as to when that will happen. So our intention was to get our special permit in order so that when these license applications are released, we could join that lottery and make our application for license.
Okay, now the growing process, the length of time between laying the seeds and harvesting? What is it, so that people understand, what is that usual process?
Sure, the plants, the seeds would go into the ground, you know, Mayish timeframe, between May 1st and June 1st. And then the plants grow and they reach maturity mid-September to mid-October.
So basically like a farming,
100%,
yeah, like a farming on a farm.
correct.
And with the fences up, and of course you will have the security.
Mhm.
Do you foresee any problems? I mean, you know, this is a great town. I've lived here for over 45 years. But we do have our problems.
Oh, sure.
And we do have kids that, you know, anytime they can find something for free, they're gonna do it. What is your safeguard against that?
Right, well, part of it is, you know, hopefully, you know, in addition to the now 12-foot
12
tall
fence,
fence,
yeah.
which should be plenty, I don't.
Yeah,
It's also a very quiet rural area, you know, we have neighbors all around who report on every movement of everything that goes on, which is what we welcome, obviously. And also, as I mentioned before, these plants are kind of worthless monetary wise, or even smoking or using wise, from the seed stage throughout their maturity. And even when they're mature, they're really not usable until they've been fully processed. So it's like going in and stealing, you know, the weeds, you know, the undesired plants from that area. You're not going to get much mileage. So there shouldn't really be much desire. Although, you know, locks keep honest people honest, as we all. So, but I think with a security plan in place that the state will review and then either do a provisional approval or full approval, depending on what they come to see when they look at your site. You know, it's not a slam dunk through the state either. You could build this whole fencing and lighting and cameras, and they could still come and say, add more, add more.
now, as far as the state goes, they're going to come to your site and check your site.
Correct.
That a one-time deal, or is it a process that, okay, we checked that, we need to check it again, it's a year later?
Right, it's a continuous process. Initially, they'll come and visit your site, you know, after you submit your license application and you've fulfilled the requirements of the license application, they'll come to your site, see what you've developed or set up, and they will each issue a provisional license, you know, if there are any modifications that need to be made, and then come back later when you've told them we've made, you know, met all your conditions or your provisions, and then they will issue a final license. And then they do periodic inspections of facilities to ensure compliance with all those types of things,
All right.
security.
I have another question concerning the tax revenue to the town of Thompson. Dispensaries are one thing, growers are something else.
Mhm.
Where town of Thompson is not going to get a huge amount of money versus what they would have gotten from a dispensary.
Correct.
So that aspect of this is going to be minimal. We
Understood.
are not really going to get anything like that.
Sure.
And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Hill. Mr. Blackburn, you're next.
Just want to let the applicants understand that any fence over 7 feet.
Yeah.
Sure, we'll work with the zoning, you know.
Well, that's the building office.
That's the building.
Yes.
Right. To enable town him.
Sure, noted, definitely.
The state requires 12 feet, okay, and they're and under their requirements, the way I read it. It's right here, it says it has to be a fence surrounding the perimeter of the outdoor operation that is not less than 12 feet in height, constructed of 9-gauge or lower metal chain link or similar secure material approved by the department, the state, Connecticut department that's gonna be looking at it. And screened in a way to fully obscure the view from outside of the fenced area. So the state's already got their implementation into how they want this thing to be governed, you know, height and screen. So in other words, you can walk right up to it. He can do a mural on the outside.
Even though it's state, is going to be, the state will require again. To have an engineer design and basically.
I really couldn't give you an answer on,
Yeah, we'll certainly work with the building department if we're, you know,
yeah, it's the building permit. So if it's gotta go through the building permit because we gotta follow.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Randy, go ahead, please.
Processing, assuming that you're gonna 10 by 20 shed, the processing must be pretty minimal, mainly drying.
Correct. Drying and then curing, which takes an additional couple of weeks or so.
You don't get into making gummies and
No.
fancy drinks.
There's no processing at the site, other than, you know, the drying and curing, which technically, I guess you could call that processing, but there's no transformation like extracting oils or incorporating into beverages, making gummies. This is strictly grow and then sell to elsewhere.
So in other words, what you're saying is that if you were to do that, that requires another process and another, to go through the
That's
state to do
correct.
that, so that it involving a lot more.
100%. Yeah, that would involve.
Different license.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Mr. St. Ange, hang on, you'll be next.
Since the plant is essentially useless up until the point of the cultivation and drying process, I would assume that the drying and the drying curing shed would be also encompassed within the fence there.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
That's a good question. Thank you, Mr. St. Ange.
I just had a follow-up.
Hang on.
Oh, sorry, yeah, please.
Mr. Williams.
Well, I just want to make a comment on it, the plants that are useless until they're dry. That's not correct, because as long as they have the crystals on them, they could be 3 weeks ready to be picked. And so the other kid could steal them, drive in their barn, and then turn around and sell them street value anyway, and they would still be, enough to put a kids to get high on.
Right. Well, yeah, I don't believe that to be true.
Because you're gonna have the, all the surveillance stuff, cameras and
Sure,
what
plus
is
it does-
required, what is required.
Correct.
Any other questions from the
Just
commissioners?
one quick one, to go off of what Gene said earlier
Jane.
on the actual title transfer. So if you're thinking about it as any commodity, any agricultural commodity that we may trade or in this town, it's gonna be either at the origin or destination where the title transfer is done. So it's just it's a minor point, but I didn't see it in the regs when I broke it down. So it's basically a question of myself more than, and I'm not putting you on the
Sure,
spot
yeah.
to know it because it's not included in the regs. But if we were talking about the tax side of it, it would be, you know, wherever the title transfer would occur.
Good point.
So that could be at the, you know, if there was a transport company, which in this case there's not, because you're self-transporting, then the title transfer would most likely be at the destination. That would be like a delivered business. So if it were a rail car or something, it would be like a delivered at the destination. So therefore, the town would not include any taxes on, or not receive any taxes. Whereas if it was a dispensary, which maybe someone should start one if he's gonna be growing it.
Yeah.
But that would be the way to get the tax revenue.
good point,
Just to be very clear and
Sure.
probably too detailed for.
No,
this
that's a good point.
particular-
We would, you know, obviously, that's kind of a state question where they determine where the sale, so to speak, occurs, whether it's
Absolutely.
someone places an order, we receive it in Thompson, is that where the sale occurs, or whether it's
So
when you just drop it off?
something to think about.
Sure, understood.
Are there any other questions from the commissioner? No, hearing none, we thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate your time, certainly, questions, very thoughtful, so I appreciate it.
You don't have anything that's.
No, I don't have any.
So everything's all good with the shed and all that other stuff is right on the money?
Oh, well, you're asking me if we comply with regulations according to what I put in my memo, which I don't have in front of me. The applicant complies with that, and your responsibility is to ensure that he complies with our regulations. And you also have the ability to go into section 5, which allows you to do conditions, and, I believe that I sort of summarized it for you in your memo, but here is section 5. In your regulations, there's what conditions that you, as a commission, put into it.
Thank you. Sir, do you, your house, the location of the shed is gonna be located inside the fence area or down by?
No, this is, it's two separate properties in our house.
Yes, I understand that.
Yes, and the shed would be within that fenced in.
So that, yeah, because in other words, because it's gonna be like out in the open there, so you have to put that inside the thing. That would be pretty much what I was gonna say would have been a condition anyway, but since.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have anything else?
Well, like I said, this is section 5 here, I
Yep.
know regulations here, and this criteria for evaluating the permit conditions. For special permits, if you want to put conditions on it, and there is a complete list, 10 things. So, yeah. So for you guys, after. What,
No, I was looking at Ms. Farrow, I was gonna ask her, the
You ready
for what?
for the public comment?
public.
No, you have to read the letters and.
Oh, yes, I got them right here. I got two, yes, go ahead, Mr. Krugel.
On the plot one that was handed out today, or Cindy, on the proposed lot, of the population, it has a proposed 3-bedroom house.
What, no, that,
Wrong one.
no, that, Mike, that was when that property was established years ago. Margaret gave me a copy of that out of her folder. It's just to show you where the wetlands was, which they're not imposing upon at all.
Because they're not gonna put no building, no, like a house or whatever on the plot. Any other questions or anything? I have two letters here I have to read that were handed to me. And I'll read the first one. It was dated 9/23/24. And to the Thompson Enforcement Officer. I and my husband wished to write in a support of the proposed micro cultivation project on Hill Road. It is. 1, a legal crop in a zone agricultural area. 2, the owners have followed town and state rules and regulations. 3, there seems to be no plans for light pollution or excessive traffic. 4, it will bring much needed tax revenue to the town. Please support this project. Sincerely, Ed and Beth Goldsmith, 988 Watertown Farm Road. And the second one I have here is from, it went to the first selectman's office and everything. It was submitted by 32 Hill Road. Tracy and John Young are not in favor of the proposed cannabis cultivator for many reasons, including not wanting a commercial enterprise in our RA zone. And the environmental impact. Documented extreme water usage for cannabis. We are all well water. And power usage, extreme electrical usage for heat and lighting in an already unreliable area where most of us need generators. Increase in traffic, fertilization waste, potential runoff to wetlands, and the very well documented odor issue from these facilities that will produce quality of life and property value. We accept that we pay high taxes as a bedroom open space community with this commercial tax base and for it to stay as a commercial free as possible. Thank you for your time, John and Tracy Young. Those are the two I have.
Okay, I do have more here. Now, I'm gonna hold this one back. I've had, requests, FYI requests, and Mr. Potres, I believe he's here tonight, and I believe I've given him all the information that he asked for. I also had an email request a while ago, concerning the record. And I answered him and said that, have to answer in 4 days. And I have 30 days to give him this, information. So I did send the information September 17th, attached to the record of Zero Hill Road, application 2418 that you requested on 8/27. Please let me know that you received the record. If you have any questions, please call me. This was sent to, sorry, it's Kevin Beecher. And I did not get a response on the email. I just want to let you know that.
So how long are you good? How long do you have to?
Well, I answered it within 4 days, and I had up to 30 days.
Right, so if he didn't respond, what's his time limit?
Well,
No.
there's no time limit. I'm just saying that if a gentleman is here tonight and says he didn't get the record, that I have the emails here saying that he did get the record,
Okay.
but didn't respond to me.
But, all right.
And this one was given to us at the last meeting, and it's actually about 10 pages. Much of it deals with state, so I believe I forwarded this to the attorney, right after our meeting. And I'm just wondering, if this has to be read out loud. This does not have to be read out loud. I gave it to everybody on the commission. Okay, copies of it here.
No, no, we can put it on the website, they can download it, read it there.
Right.
or-
Yeah.
And this one,
To the applicant, you don't have to read every single stuff.
okay, and I did forward it to you, and I did not forward this to you, I got it in the last email I did last week, well, whatever. Jonathan Miller, from 338 Chase Road. So I just want to let you know that these two come. If anybody wants to see that, there's extra copies up here someplace for that.
And you got anything else that needs to be handled?
No, I did.
What was the name, what was the name you just said that on the last one?
John Miller.
John Miller, is he on the
Jonathan
list?
Miller.
Jonathan Miller?
Yes,
Okay, we'll give Jonathan Miller the opportunity to
Okay.
speak.
I was gonna call them up in order.
Oh, well, whatever, that's, go for it.
Are we ready for that?
Yes, we got no choice, do we? Go for it.
And just for the sake of the folks in the Zoom room as well as here in the room, I'm going to call folks up in order. When you're called up, all I have here are names, so please share your name and also your address. We do try to limit comments to 3 minutes each. That is for all of you, really, because we're already an hour in. After we go through all the names on the list for the people in the room, we will then open it up to the Zoom room. If you are in the Zoom room and want to give comment at that time, please use the raise hand function. If you can't use the raise hand function, then you can take yourself off mute and identify yourself by name and address, but it is better if we can manage it with the hands. So first on the list is Richard Poitras. Yeah, and for in the room, please come up and stand as close to the mic as you can get.
Okay. So my name is Richard Poitras, and I live at 210 Hill Road with my wife Donna.
Sure.
And yes,
Just commissioners, you stay straight, so
Okay.
because of the microphone, we'll pick
Okay.
you up better, because when you turn away, it fades.
okay,
Thank
sorry
you.
about that, yes.
No, nothing to be sorry about.
And I'm speaking for myself as well as the Chase Hill Group, resident group, in which we have created a document. We've spent hundreds of hours doing this, reviewing it, and having also external experts review this. So it really has a wealth of information, and it certainly contains factors for consideration. So now I would like to hand it out, but I have an original with signatures from all the members of the Chase Hill Group.
That will go to the CEO.
Okay.
You can read this out, man.
Get a comfortable seat, everyone.
You gonna have popcorn? Hey, you gonna have popcorn? Okay. You want a phone with a tiny, you better get an Apple. Both there, yeah. You and I will see it. Just like that. I put my nose in on this, you cut the apple now.
Got more, yeah.
Yes, and I also have a petition. I walked around and I actually knocked on doors. And the petition actually is read is to appeal to the Thompson zoning board to oppose the application regarding the cannabis micro cultivation facility located at 196 Hill Road. I don't have 0. Sorry about that, but
Thank you.
anyway, it says that the such facility will devalue residential properties and create pungent odors, impose a risk to the environment, wildlife, and cause health hazards, and potentially elevate crime. This kind of facility does not belong in Hill Chase and Aquatic Road neighborhoods. So I have this sign on. This over here too.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, that is the original, yes. Okay, what I would like to start with is that this location is really not a good place because it's in the middle of a neighborhood. And there are a lot of families. In fact, if you look at GeoMap and you do a 200-foot radius, there's 10 abutters, and there's 2 families with very young children. In fact, one family is 40 feet away the borders, okay, from this proposed facility. And these children wait for a bus at the end of their driveway, which is right there, right across the street from it. And it's really an awful thing to do, you know, to have to know that you need to tell your children at at some point that, you know, this is a drug producer next door. Sorry about that. So, anyway, and then when you go out to 1,000-foot radius, now you get 25 abutters and many more families with young children. Why we have this in here to say a commercial entity, it's not really a farming, not considered by the state statutes. It's farming or agriculture, but it is in the RRAD. Okay, so quickly looking, when I scanned the topo or the contour lines of the proposed site, I just did a quick calculation using like the sine and the rise of the run, and I came up with about like a little over 7 degrees, slope. And up at the top corner where they're proposing to grow, it gets up to 10 degrees.
Okay, sir.
It's quite, yes.
2 minutes are up.
That's it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman,
Hold it.
I'd like to hear him a little bit more, please, considering that he put all of this time and energy into this. Can you please give him another 2 minutes?
The rest of the commission is okay with that? And I will authorize.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. You got 2 minutes.
Okay.
And you need to say.
There's excessive washout, and looking at it, there's we estimated about 300 plants and 900 plants at a 3-foot spacing, and requiring 6 gallons of water is like 5,400 gallons. And if you ever have like a washout down there, we have in if there's any like insecticides, fertilizers, I don't believe that just there's going to be a lot of contaminants going down, and it washes down across the road into the Wyndham land trust, which is all wetlands. So anyway, I'll just move on and say that the problem is there's fumes. I am I actually have asthma. I have a doctor's, it's actually in here, the doctor's letter saying that I do get headaches and have a hard time breathing even now. And then the fumes, there's like a whole history on fumes, and that fumes is that's one of the major complaints for this, and it's really hard to mitigate, especially when it's growing outdoor. So contrary to what others have said, there's a lot of efforts that have been put into mitigating fumes even outdoor. In Webster, they can't even do it. 3 years ago, there was an apology letter from the CEO of that grow plant that's indoors. It has that really can contain it and send it through charcoal filters, and they still can't control that smell. I can't imagine that being right there on the edge of my property. It will really devalue my property. No one will want to buy it. In fact, I just had a market analysis done on it, and they said that they would have to reevaluate if in fact a cannabis micro cultivator was next door. And what family would want to come in and buy we're direct abutters to the applicants. Crime is not another thing. We have land, we're way in the back. And you'll have people coming through, and that's kind of a threat to us. The commission, the burden of the commission is really to protect us, and make sure that there's no impact on the quality of life, environment, aesthetics, and value of property. So, and that's what we're looking at, and we're hoping. We're just residents. We've been living there. We worked really hard. That land is just full of rock, and people that moved in have been there 1 year, and now they've upset this. And we've all spent hundreds of hours. So we know a lot about this. This document's really good, and I would really be glad to mention this to anybody. Anyway, I am just requesting that Planning and Zoning Commission deny this application. And it's because it fails to comply with the requirements in the current zoning regulations identified in the citizens document that I handed out. And also my potential loss of property value. It definitely, we are next door. This will impact me greatly. And also the potential impact on my health.
You got 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. And also the impact on my health, and that will cause it does cause a very offensive odor, and also there's an undisclosed impact of the property use on my existing well, and that is because it will require, these are very thirsty plants, and even if there's not 900 plants, like let's say 3,000 gallons or so, that's 3,000 gallons that need to be pumped up there. In the proposal by the applicants, it's very misleading, it's deceptive. I don't know where their well is going to be, but if they pump 3,000 gallons of water a day off their well, there will be problems. And
okay, minutes up, sir.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. We're up again.
Next on the list is Kevin Feijel. I apologize if I said your name incorrectly.
Yeah. Feijel. My name is Kevin Feijel. I did receive the email. I apologize for not responding.
And just your name and your address for the record, please.
Kevin Feijel, 419 Chase Road in Thompson. And I also speak on behalf of the Chase Hill Residents Group.
Just keep looking at them and because of the mic, like I said.
Okay, I do have concerns about this proposal. We've talked about the odor. We don't need to go too much more into that, other than it is one of the third highest melodious crop in the country. It emits some of the three of the top 6 most potent and pungent fumes. Indoor facilities have a difficult time containing the odor. How is an outdoor facility going to contain the odor? The charcoal filters, I mean, maybe charcoal filters, other facilities, other situations, they simply they will not contain this odor. Also, the odor has a chance to reach Marianopolis, to reach the town green, the town center, where there are wedding facilities. Yeah, I just want the town to consider that in addition to anything else. Talking about noise, says there will be no noise. Potentially, however, if there is odor, other facilities such as the Wise Acres in West Stockbridge, Mass, put in very large fans to disperse the air, which of course, if fans would produce, fans of this size would absolutely produce an awful lot of noise. And my property is within the 200 feet radius. I did receive the certified letter about this, and so the noise is of utmost concern to myself and my family. Security, I understand saying the plants are saying they're worthless until they're cultivated, but potential criminals may not be aware of that. And plus, there's the time when they are being cultivated and drawn and dried. And just, I'm not a criminal, but the criminals don't generally go in the front door. I assume criminals, somebody's going to commit a crime, theft, they're probably going to go in the back door. The back door of this property is literally my backyard. So my question to the applicant and to the town is, how is my safety, my family's safety, my daughter's safety, how is that going to be handled? How is that going to be guaranteed? Light pollution, I understand, yes, I do have a garden. I understand that gardens grow on light from the sun. However, the requirement for this is to have around all ingress and egress, 20-foot diameter of lighting, either permanently lit or motion sensor, which will be very visible to those close by, myself, my neighbor, and others in the vicinity. So to say that there's no lighting is misleading at best. Talked about water usage, how the amount of water that these plants would require. I'll wrap it up here. Also, just quickly, our house, 118 Chase Road, we've never met the Sansucci family. We've heard plenty about them. They raise championship Morgan horses, and we have brought the property back to that, not championship horses, we have horses. We had people in town commend us on what we've brought it back to its previous glory. We have lived here 13 years, 12 years longer than the applicants. We pay taxes, we send our kids to public school, we support local businesses. If this proposed facility had been in place when my wife and I were looking for a home, we absolutely would not have purchased this property. There's no consideration we would have even given this property a second thought.
Next I have Eric Day. Pretty sure I said your name correctly.
Eric Day, 936 Aquatic Town Farm Road. There's just two things that came up with his presentation was, if they're gonna harvest in September and October, 300 plants, and dry them for a couple of weeks, is 200 square feet really gonna be enough space to do all that type of processing? It seems like it's a pretty small shed. Then the other thing that came to mind was, there was talk about this blue and yellow strips to catch invasive species that come in, bugs. Can almost guarantee you that's not going to be 100%. And my concern is if they bring some new species into Thompson, that would be infesting other areas of Thompson and become a real nightmare. So those are my two comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan Miller.
Jonathan Miller, 338 Chase Road. I'm up here talking to you tonight, representing myself, my family, my children, and all these individuals who are sitting here who have fixed their signature to that document you received. There's a lot of great detail in that document and a lot of reasons why this public hearing actually shouldn't even be taking place. I think that this document is unfit for public hearing on its face because of how much glaring information it lacks. Cannabis in the state of Connecticut is highly regulated. And it's highly regulated for a reason. It's because the state of Connecticut decided that it was okay for us to grow a Schedule I, federally Scheduled I drug. I can't imagine being Kevin and having 300 marijuana plants growing a stone's throw from where my little daughter puts her head on a pillow at night. Additionally, the state lottery is currently closed, as we know. The applicants have admitted that they don't have a license. Thompson regulation here, Article 4, Section 275, 4.2b states the applicant shall provide evidence of approval of all appropriate agencies, then file the application. The evidence would be a micro cultivator provisional license. So the cannabis regulations here.
Could you back up a little bit and repeat what you just said, what was it, 270?
275, the regulations.
Regulations, please.
Okay, well then can I have 30 more seconds? Because you're.
Don't worry about the 30 seconds, we'll take care of it. I'm the one that will say, keep going.
Well, why don't you keep in mind that I'm representing about 12 people that are not
I
going to speak
understand,
tonight.
she just asked me and I'm asking you.
Yeah,
just-
it's Article 4, Section 275 4.2b.
Got that?
I do now, yeah.
Okay, you may proceed, sir. Back on
I put
another,
it, yeah.
back on another minute or so. There you go.
Okay, this is important because the state of Connecticut cannabis regulations are clear in stating no person may act as a micro cultivator or represent that such a person is a licensed micro cultivator unless such person has obtained a license from the department pursuant to this section. This is the reason micro cultivators have a provisional license. The provisional license allows them to begin the process of getting their business up and running. Part of that beginning of the process is applying for this special permit. They need a provisional license to apply for the permit. I called and spoke to 2 different people at the Division of Consumer Protection, the Drug Enforcement Division, who both concurred with that sentiment. Additionally, they asked me to send the application information and our proposal to them for additional review. I emailed them and they emailed me back in 45 minutes asking for this additional information. I want people to be clear on how the general lottery works. A lot of people think when you hear lottery, it means Powerball, Mega Millions, that they are going to just pull the applications out of a pile and say, oh, they got it. That is not how this works. This is a highly regulated and controlled endeavor. In fact, according to the commission, the cannabis regulations, and this is regulation 21A-408I. This states the commissioner finds that such applicant has appropriate expertise in agriculture and that such applicant is qualified to cultivate marijuana. So my question for the commission is simply this: what exactly makes these applicants experts at cannabis? What's the education? What's the training? What's the work experience in the field of cannabis? In fact, the proposal barely speaks of anything about this. Additionally, I called and spoke with a micro cultivator, a man who runs a micro cultivating indoor business in central Connecticut. He operates 10,000 indoor square feet. And I asked him, they're telling us that only Ron and Michelle are tending the plants. And I said, is that possible? And you know what he said? No, it is impossible. He requires
5 seconds, sir.
He requires a staff of 20 to 30 people 24/7 to run an indoor facility. It is preposterous to think that they can run this by themselves. I have quite a bit more here. It is all in the papers you've been handed. I hope you read my 28 pages. But I do want to point out one other thing, if I may, at the permission of the commission.
Go ahead.
Okay. In okay. This is not an agricultural endeavor. Cannabis is not agricultural or farming, and the state of Connecticut says it's not. So I don't think it's appropriate for our RRAD zone, because it specifically states, now this was the Connecticut State Legislature Act Affecting Animals and Agriculture -CTPA 21-1. it states cannabis cultivation excluded from farming definition. And the general statutory definition of agriculture and farming does not include cannabis cultivation. The Connecticut State Legislature has told us it is not agriculture and it's not farming. So it can't be allowed in a RR80 zone.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir. Hang on a minute, Tara, Ms. Dunn has some.
Question, and where did you get that regulation?
That was page 19 of the packet. The one that they passed out.
The one they passed out.
Oh, and I found it by Google.
Stand up, sir.
Well,
You asked where I found it. I found it.
I'm just wondering if you looked at our codification regulations as opposed to.
That sounded like the online code numbers to me.
That's what we're not.
It's not here, so. And then, did you say something that you said 28 pages? I said.
Yeah, it's very good.
I said 10 pages. You gave us.
It's a revised document.
You gave us 10 pages, not 28.
We gave you 20.
I'm part of the Shade Hill Residents
Oh,
Group,
not-
submitted a formal opposition of 28 pages.
This right here?
That's
Oh,
28 pages.
Right.
Yeah, that's the above.
Okay, I just wanted
They
to
went from,
clarify.
they added
It's 20.
84 pages.
I got it. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay, you got clarification?
I have my.
There you go, that's all that matters. Next on the list, please.
Okay, moving on, ladies and gentlemen, Darren Schmelk? Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna just state my name. My name's Darren Schmelk. I live at 430 Chase Road. To give you guys a little bit of history, my grandfather actually farmed that land from 1930. My grandfather farmed that land from 1939 all the way up to 1960. If any of you have any other questions, there was another farmer after that, and also it all went over to Bobby Reynolds, but that has very little to do with this. Basically, that was before anything that zoning and anything, but my biggest problem with this, I agree 100% with the Chase Road and the Hill Road. But my biggest thing is the small people that can't make any talk. I'm talking environmental. I came from a farming family. What environmental impacts this is gonna have on wildlife? It's inland wetlands. I know that property up above that, my grandfather used to call it the ice house pond. That water runs down, all the way down into Quarter Pond, Lower Pond, which is the actual original pond. There's a lot of environmental things in there. There's a lot of environmental properties around that. It's just something to be concerned about is what we're gonna do. The other thing too is, what is it gonna do to groundwater? That is ledge in there. Ledge will seep any kind of poisons or anything that we put on that ground. I remember when my grandfather used to farm it, he always did it natural. It was natural fertilizer. My grandfather was very much ahead of his time for doing that. But that's one thing we need to take into consideration when we're doing zoning. The other thing too is this is residential. How much tax money are you gonna actually end up getting from this? If my house and the property outside of my house all of a sudden was big enough, and I said, well, hey, guess what? I'm a farm. I can actually go and take my taxes and cut them down. I mean, Town of Thompson, we're looking for revenue for the town. We're looking for infrastructure, for the school, for our children. I mean, my children went through the school. I mean, I've been here. I hate to tell you, I'm 58. I've lived on Chase Road my whole life. So that's all I have to say.
Cindy Nolan.
So I'm Cindy Nolan. I live at 187 Hill Road, which is directly across the street from this property. We've lived there about 22 years. I am very worried. I know that they say they're going to contain it to the amount of space that they're talking, but as we all know, things develop, things grow, they can expand. And it's not like we're talking about growing corn. We're not growing wheat, we're growing cannabis, and that's a whole different crop. It brings in the problem of our safety, and that's one of the biggest things I'm concerned about. You don't have to fence in the hay field around my house, but you do have to fence in this crop. And so that is a big worry for me. We've talked about the water. The water is still a problem. I know they talk about dripping, you know, from rainwater, but that means you need rain. And sometimes you just don't get that. So you have to count on that. Otherwise, you may be contaminating the water and you're using up the water in our area. Big fence, lots of lights, and the smell. You know, the smell is just, I know that Ronald said that there are certain plants that you can have that will not smell as much, but we don't get any choice in what those plants are. So maybe he starts off this one with a plant that doesn't smell so bad, but in 3 years he does. So now it's floating over to the school in the area, down to the public spots, over to where we have a corn maze, where we know there are a lot of children, a lot of schools going in the area. We have kids in the area. And you know what? Kids don't care how old the plant is. They are going to try to steal it at any point in time. We all know that. I mean, we all go and steal corn from once in a while. We all gonna go try to steal a little weed too. You know, that's just how we are. So that's one of my biggest issues. Also, Ronald got a whole hour to talk. And I know that this group has worked endlessly, handed you 28 pages in one document. I really feel that they should be heard a little longer, okay? Because they have really done their homework. They have really nailed it down point by point. So please do take the time to read that document. They have put a lot of time and effort in it. This is our neighborhood. This is where we live. We don't want to smell it. We don't want it to continue to grow, and it will continue to grow. There will be traffic there. He's going back and forth with his little wagon to get it from the top of the hill to bring it back down. There are going to be issues, and we don't even have a police force in our town. So I really do want you to consider all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Elms Young.
Hi, Tracy Elms Young, 32 Hill Road, Thompson, pretty much a lifelong resident since 1972. My husband sent in a letter before this meeting when it was canceled and sent here for now. So we are against the cultivation of cannabis. We're not anti-pot. It's nothing against that. It's just doesn't, as our neighbors have said, it doesn't belong in our town. It's not an agricultural crop. It produces nothing for the town. It doesn't benefit the town. Cannabis, and I didn't realize this, you're going to grow outdoors, but your grow house or your drying house is going to need electricity. Most of us on Hill Road know that the electric grid in this area is not so great, so most of us have generators. So your drying house is going to create non-reliable, it's going to greatly tax our unstable electric delivery system. Cannabis, even though our neighbor here, Ron, says that they're going to have a triple feed, and but we all know that marijuana is a very thirsty plant. Most plants in the month of August require 2.5 gallons per plant per day, and even higher in the month of August. We just went through a dry month right now, and we all saw the Thompson Dam 2 years ago where it basically dried up. So what happens to the neighbors, our neighbors, that rely upon well water. When the well dries up, are they gonna be required to dig deeper? Waste. You said that you're going to have waste bags, or you're gonna have bags that are going to have guano, soil, and what happens when your plants are spent, and where does the waste go? Where does it get just thrown into the backyard? Pesticides, fertilizers, everything that is required to grow any crop, somewhere the waste product has to go. And then odor, of course, we all are very concerned about odor. There's numerous towns that have allowed grow facilities, and they're having buyer's remorse. The town of Lee, neighbors are not happy about the smell coming from a new cultivator. And then the town councilman is like, if I had known this before, I wouldn't support it. Once a facility has been enacted, how do you control the smell? I contacted the New England Department of Health to see what their take was, because I couldn't find anything in the town bylaws that support how to control nuisance odors. The state of Connecticut has Connecticut Agencies Regulation 22A-174-23.
45 seconds.
Control of odors. No person shall cause or permit the emission of any substance or combination of substances which create or contribute to an odor in an ambient air that constitutes a nuisance. It unreasonably interferes with the enjoyment of life, the use of property, considering the character, degree of injury, or to interfere with the health, general welfare, property, or use of property of the people affected, and the location of the pollution source and character of the area neighborhood affected. So how should this go through? And we have odors. What is the town going to do to mitigate such issues? And of course, we know that odor is going to potentially cause a decrease in our property values.
Oh, Sept, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Carita?
Good evening. My name is Eric Carita. I have lived here almost all my life, not a year, almost all my life. All right. I have a wife. We have a home on Chase. We have a family. All right. First things first, you are 100% correct. Immature plants can be cut down early. Immature plants can be dried early. How do I know this? Because I did this. Okay. I was part of the Connecticut State Police Forensic Labs DNA unit, where that's what I did with my graduate level work. I created a DNA testing kit designed to track the clonal propagation of marijuana, because they are twins when you clonally propagate marijuana. The use of colchicine, which is a rooting hormone, which can cause polyploidism, mutations, runoff. All right. So you are 100% correct. They can be cut down early. They can be dried early. 300 plants, and I've done this, so I know it. 300 plants in a 200 square foot area is very difficult. All right. That takes up a very large amount of space in that area. Okay. Very, very difficult. And Ms. Also, you are 100% correct. The smell, I've been part of them. I've been part of burn ops where they've all been destroyed. And I've been part of clonal propagations from infancy right up on through, including drying. You touch a marijuana plant and it will react. Why? It's evolution. It's one of the greatest plants in the world. I have nothing against marijuana. I love it. It's gorgeous. And I spent years and years and years and years handling thousands of samples, including full plants. And it stinks. And no one has an idea of just how damn bad it stinks. Although they are beautiful, I'm gonna tell you that. Until you've handled them. Now, I don't know how many other people in here have been part of a live grow. You can admit it if you want, you don't have to be. But what I heard up here was a lot of could be, or should not smell, or we're gonna use charcoal. There is nothing laid out. I helped write the book on this. I know marijuana. I know sativa, indica, ruderius. I know the different strains. You can have lower smelling strains, don't get me wrong.
We got 20 seconds, sir.
Thank you. You can have lower smelling strains, but you're not controlling her. All right? She will smell, and it will be in your clothes, and my couch, and my children's hair, and one of the greatest, if I could have 30 more seconds, sir. Thank you very much. And this group, wow, is all I've got to say. The Chase group is wow, because one of the big things was I had 45 trees taken down, my yard extended, an in-ground pool put in, and I'm not going to be able to sit outside and enjoy life with family and friends because come September to October, and it's before that, trust me, if you've ever been part of a grow up, it waves, and I'm right on that border. So my kids, my family, along with this group and everyone else will smell it. And that's a fact. Thank you.
Andrew Irby.
Good evening, Andrew Irby, 173 Hill Road, the paint house for everybody in here. I'll look forward so we don't get in trouble. At first, I was against the idea of having a cultivation facility across the area, but after meeting Michelle and Ron, I'm open to the idea. One thing that hasn't been talked about here in this group is, imagine waking up tomorrow and the speed limit's changing from 25, 35 to 50 or 60. Would you be mad at the people driving, or would you be mad at the zoning board for allowing that change? That's where our energy should be directed if you oppose this, not at this beautiful couple. Because I tell you, they are beautiful people. You're nice, you're receiving, can't say much more about you. You're great people. But a lot of the energy in here is directed at them personally, like they're doing something bad. They've just elected the zoning that's been adopted. That's all I have to say. On top of that, again, I have 15 years in the cannabis industry. Yes, the plants do smell. That it's hard to get around. But cutting the plants down early, nobody does that. You have a 3 to 5 day window to cut down at the optimum time. So you have trichomes, the crystals that you had mentioned, right? They start off clear. As the plant matures, for the folks that don't know, there are a couple of people here.
I'm gonna write that down.
But as the trichomes mature, they get cloudy. That's when it's optimal to cut down your plants. Cutting down prior to that or after that, when they turn amber, you're gonna lose value. So to think a criminal is going to hop a fence in the middle of the night, cut down a plant, mosey on down back to his house to dry it is beside us. They would have better luck stealing a hay truck and selling that in New York than they would cutting down their crops. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hold your applause, hold your applause.
Vincent Talashko.
Hello, friends and neighbors. My name is Vincent Telesco. My wife and I live at 172 Hill Road. We are abutters of this proposed facility. You know, the biggest thing that bothers us is the smell. We ride by other places that have the smell. I can't stand it. It's to the point, if we've lived here for 46 years. If we have to live with a smell, we're moving. We can't stand it. Anyways, maybe it's me, but I cannot stand the smell of pot. Anyways. I got other things here, noise pollution, water. People have talked about that, property values. I wouldn't buy a house next to a pot facility. If I knew that was there, I have kids, there's no way I would buy that. And so there's other people like me who would think the same thing. You know, micro cultivator starts off small, it could grow to 10,000 square feet. You know, will the commission have any say about this? You know, and above, so. I don't know. You know, about the smell, going back to the smell. Okay, it's September, the smell is really bad. Who do I call? Pot busters? I mean, you know, there's no one to call. I call the state police. It's just bad. Anyways, you know, I think there's a byline in one of the things I was reading about the town about what is in harmony with the neighborhood. This is not in harmony with our neighborhood. We like it here, we'd like to stay here. Please vote no on this proposal.
Fawn Robidoux. Just right here, because the microphone's here, and address the commission.
Good evening. My address is 512 Aquatic Road here in Thompson. And yes, my address is 512 Aquatic Road in Thompson. And on Memorial Day, 2022, an accident on Aquatic Town Farm Road occurred where 4 young people died. I don't know if anybody is familiar with it. I was in the water and I was building a new dock and I heard the whole thing happen. A very tragic thing. It was all due to speed.
Ma'am,
Yes,
you need to be facing the microphone and to us, not the audience.
microphones here.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, this is the microphone right here.
On August 15th of that same year, my mailbox got knocked over by a car that came from the opposite side of the road. It just did a lot of damage to us. 5 minutes before that happened, 2 of my grandchildren were riding their bike in the driveway. The speed on Aquatic Road is ridiculous, and there's nothing to enforce it. I can't even pull my driveway, I put my blinker on, and I have trucks passing me on my left as I'm going to make a left-hand turn, which is pretty unsafe. So my concern here is about the traffic, and sir, I know that you address the traffic. But I know the volume of traffic that goes over that road every day. It's crazy. There are all kinds of trucks from the gravel pit and they do not go the speed limit. Speaking of speed limit, the speed limit is way up right before you get to Hill Street. That's the last place there was any sign. It says 25. I have people going 50, 60, 70 down my road. There are unregistered ATVs that are driving down the middle of the road, motorcycles and everything else. So I know that you addressed it. I know that somebody asked a question over here about how you're going to, that is my concern, is how much more traffic is that bringing into this town with no police force? You say you're gonna deliver it just by yourselves every day. I don't know how that works. I do know one of my sons is an accountant and all his clients all over, cannabis accounts all over the United States. And he said these are things that we need to worry about. You know, a truck's gonna start pulling up 3, 4, 5 years from now. I just don't. So these are my concerns. These are my questions. I know what speed does.
20 seconds, ma'am.
And I'm done.
All right, this one is more of a signature. I think this says Raymond Martin.
Hello, Raymond Martin, live on 28 Plum Road. I've been living in this town since I was born in 1958. This is a professional thing. I've been involved with buildings of small dispensary things up to multi-million dollar facilities. Excuse me, my phone's going off. And anyway, buildings bigger than what's across the street over here for a mill. They have state-of-the-art filtration systems in these buildings. There is no such thing as a minimum smell. It is impossible. Up to 3 miles away, depending on how the wind's blowing. And we're talking, they spent thousands and thousands of dollars for a filtration system. So that's my part, the smell.
You're up, sir.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is George O'Neill, 122 Fabian Road, North Grosvenor. Over the past 2 hours, we've listened to important information, which I think commissioners, you need to really look into. The applicants, good folks, sounds like they want to make an opportunity, make a living, and that's part of the American dream. So that's what we do. In Thompson, we're a rural community, and that's part of it. So I get that. And we listened for an hour for the pros and cons, or certainly an outline of what might be done. To the credit of commissioners, incisive questions were asked about how much, where, when. And it felt, at least as an observer, that the applicant struggled with some of that data. The 12-foot fence, I think that was a moment. So I think there's more that needs to go into this. I also noted on the other side, the folks that don't embrace the concept of cannabis micro, that a lot of work has gone into it. Over 20 some odd pages have been submitted for commissioners to read. And although if you're listening, then you're not reading. So you will not have had an opportunity to read all this material, thoroughly documented. And then there's the subject matter experts that came before you, published authors on the subject of cannabis. You know, I learned a lot about it because I guess I skipped that stage. I was in the military with the secret clearance and cannabis wasn't on the menu. So there's pros and cons to this. It's not an easy issue to discuss, but I think some of the important things to remember, and even by the applicant's own comment, is that this is a neighborhood. There's neighbors all around. I've driven through the neighborhood. I have people I know over there, and I find that it's really an urban area. Is it the right place? The real fundamental question I think the commissioners have to look at and ask themselves, is this the right place for a micro grow? Not to say it shouldn't be in any place, and maybe it could be in Thompson somewhere, but does it belong in a neighborhood with 25 families within 1,000 feet? And also, as to published documents on the subject of diminished the value of property, there are some that say it does go up, and there's some that say that it does go down. One report stated that within 0.36 miles of a dispensary, never mind a grow, but a dispensary, the property values went down by up to 4%. Well, what does that mean? So what, right? Well, how many properties are there within 0.36 miles of the proposed site? It just happens to be just over 40. On the tax, according to our tax rolls, our grand list, that represents in excess of $15 million in taxable assets. Now you want to knock it down by 4%. You've just taken $15,000 from each and every of those citizens, if in fact that's the case. So the question before you is this: is it the right place? Is it the right time? I would recommend, no, it's not. I see for you, you need to stop this. You need to nip it in the bud. Thank you.
Christine Campbell. While she's coming up, for the folks in the Zoom room, there's one more person on the live comment. If there are any folks in the Zoom room who want to comment, you can do so afterwards, again, by raised hands, and I'll do my best to let the chairman know you're there in order.
Christine Campbell, 861 Thompson Road, Thompson. I just want to say a couple of things. The disgusting, repulsive odor from Webster, Massachusetts when driving past is from an inside facility. It's extremely strong, and that is from an inside source. This will be 300 plants outside. I do not want to smell any cannabis anywhere near my home. We all know, sorry. Second comment is property values of surrounding homes. It cannot be stated that it won't affect property values because nobody knows that for a fact. As George O'Neill said very eloquently, that if property taxes are reduced, then there's less income for our town. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Last person on the in-room list, I think this is John Downey? Downs?
I'm part of the Hill Road group, and the Chase group. I think everyone's been so eloquent recently, so a lot of my points have been spoken for. I live at 177 Hill Road with my wife, Johnetta. We've lived there for 12 years. I can take a stone from the very back of my property, and if I have a good arm, I can hit this land. As has been eloquently stated, this is going to stench, and basically using our backyards during the budding and processing time, we won't be able to open the windows in our home. We won't be able to use our backyards without smelling skunk. That's on a very basic level. I am, as well as living here for 12 years, I have been a realtor in the area for 12 years. And although earlier the statement was made that there's no experience, so we don't know anything about real estate values with the micro cultivar, I just ask everyone to put their logical hat on and think about if this thing is in place, and if I'm giving a market value to one of our neighbors, I have to factor that in. It is going to stench. You probably don't want to market during that late summer and September. So again, that was they have eloquently pointed out that the massive amounts of tax revenue that will be lost from the decreased values of the homes and there's nothing coming in. And so that's all I have to say. Again, we live right there. We're going to be right in it. And if this grows and expands, and this is probably 1.5 miles from Thompson Hill, Marionopolis, these are our prized assets in the town. If you're going to have stench of skunk on the village green, at the church, somebody's having a wedding, Marionopolis, I just ask everybody to consider that if this thing expands. And so thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, we have a gentleman identified as Fred in the Zoom room who says he can't find the raise hand function. So Fred, we'll call on you first. State your full name and your address, please.
Okay, this is Fred Rucho. I'm part of the Rucho Family Trust. We own property in Thompson at 0 Hill Road. There is no building.
Excuse me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can, but I'm gonna ask you to slow down a little bit because what you just said just blew right by me. So,
Okay, I will repeat it.
You're talking through that, so it's just, I'm just asking you just to slow it down a little bit so we all can hear it then.
The speakers here aren't great, folks in the Zoom room, so please do try to articulate.
Thank you. I'm Fred Rucho, part of the Rucho Family Trust that owns property in Thompson and our address is 0 Hill Road. Therefore, there is no building on the property. It was mentioned at the beginning that this facility also does not have a property address. It's also listed at 0 Hill Road, but they have a house that does have an address. That number was not identified. So I would like to know where the house is located because it is abutting to our property. And we have about 40 acres of land in Thompson, and we've had it for, I don't know, probably 40 or 50 years. We've had it for quite a long time. The other question is, they have 2 lots, one with their house, one without, this grow facility will be going. If they decide to sell their property, does the growth facility go with it, or can they sell it separately? And then are there regulations within the state of Connecticut about selling the grow facility as a separate entity? That's my question to the commission. Thank you.
Hang on there, sir. I just lost it. The property is divided, I believe. And it's been separated since '08, correct? According to, okay, so because it's, one is 7B, one's 7C. 7B is the property with the house and stuff, and 7C is the property where they wanna put the microculture. That's, I'm just giving you that information so you have a better understanding.
Could I explain?
Hang on a minute, there, miss.
Okay, I just wanted to explain up zero.
Well, I was just gonna get that to you. Okay, so that's the explanation there, so you have, there are two different properties, so if they wanted to sell it down the road, it has nothing to do with the house and whatever structure they've got.
So is the address 7B Hill Road or?
No, it's 190.
I can answer that.
Okay, she'll give you the information,
So
so.
there's two lots, their home is located at 196 Hill Road. When you have a lot in the town of Thompson, does it not have a structure on it? It is always classified as zero, and when a structure is put on the house, then they go to the assessor in the building office and they give a number to that house. And so it will always be zero until there is a structure on it.
Do you understand that clarification, sir?
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Next up, Sally, I assume that's Sally White. Sally, you're still muted if you're speaking. We can, yeah, we can come back to her. Is there anyone else in the Zoom room who wishes to make a comment on the public hearing?
Tara, Ken Bosley.
Okay, go ahead, Ken.
There's been an awful lot of 21 Walker Drive. There's been an awful lot of information that has come out this evening that's going to impact the town in many different ways. We've been going at this for 2 solid hours. A lot of unanswered questions. My recommendation would be to definitely postpone the table this until the next meeting, get those answers, questions, because whatever impact or decision that is made this evening will have long-lasting effects for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolsoy.
Sally, it looks like you found your mute function. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I wasn't able to find my name before. All right, so can questions be answered? One of my major questions was, again, the grow bags, which were mentioned as to what would happen with the contents when the growing was complete or during the growing season. Where do the contents go? How are they disposed of and where? And my other question was also about pests. If they have their own particular ones that they attract, then could those migrate and also be a problem to other growing type places in the area or other residential gardens or whatever? And so do these questions, are they answered?
Miss White? Ms. White?
Yes.
You will get your answers. I just gonna give Miss Roland. Ron, oh, sorry. He's gonna answer the 2 questions for you, so you
Okay.
have to.
Thank you. And then it seems like actually a lot of things have been answered as to the effect on the town. And my approach on most things is to look at first, do no harm. And it looks like there is the potential and the also proven evidence of harm that can be done. And the people that have made their homes nearby need to be given the first consideration and respect. And I wonder if Mr. Amoling would be willing to, I mean, I grew up in Thompson. I haven't always lived here. I've lived in Arlington and Boyce, Virginia. and I'm mainly in Thompson now, but I wonder if Ronald would be willing to share the town that he lived in before he moved to Thompson. Thank you.
You can answer the questions about where you lived before, it doesn't really pertain to what's going on now, so you have the floor.
Sure, to answer the question of what will happen to the soil contained within the grow bags. Well, during a normal grow season, the nutrients are taken from that soil and utilized by the plants. So those grow bags full of organic natural soil and organic fertilizer that's been depleted, those will be disposed of by being on that property. You know, will add to the soil that's on that property. So there's no toxins in that, there's no pesticides within that, and so if anything, it'll enrich the soil, you know, to what of that place, of that area. As far as pests, do they migrate? There are several pests that are specific to cannabis plants. And these, as I mentioned, the sticky traps are intended to attract those from the, you know, so that they don't go towards the plants. They work by color. And so there's no migration of those expected unless you have other cannabis grows in your backyard or somewhere, you know, so those nuisance pests will be limited to that area, if at all. So these traps are not intended to assume there is a problem. They're meant as a passive preventative so that if pests do find their way there, they will be dealt with.
What specific pests?
Oh, let him finish talking, and then you ask me to ask him a question.
Sure, there are a whole host of pests, and I know you already have the answer, or you wouldn't have asked the question. So, you know, there are white aphids, there are all sorts of small bugs, half of them that you cannot see that are attracted to these sticky traps are all available commercially. So there's a whole list on each one of those different types of traps of the specifics, and we can go, you know, the list is lengthy, well, you know, limited to 5 or 6 varieties, and so those traps are intended and designed to trap.
Are there any other questions?
Yes. So.
Stand up
Right here.
and
Cindy
recognize yourself, go ahead.
Cindy Nolan,
Oh.
so just that Sally had asked when she was on whether or not this property, since it's a separate piece of property, could be sold as a grow. So he has his house on one lot, and by the way, we think they're very nice, okay? Nothing against them.
That's awesome.
So, they have their house on one property, then they have the grow on the other property. What if they decide to sell that? Where are like the rules, are there gonna be rules around that or not? I mean, can he sell it to a
We'll
corporation?
give you an answer. I have the lawyer right here. He'll give you an answer.
Thank you.
Good, put you on the spot. So,
You know, whoever wants to buy it would have to get a license from the state, just like we did. As far as the town, there's a special permit that runs with the land, so as long as there's nothing that changes in the use, it would continue to exist. But whoever the new buyer would be would have to go through the whole state licensing process before they could use the property.
Okay, but they're still having access through their driveway.
Yeah, I mean, they'd need easements and so forth, or relocate it, which would be a change to the special permit.
I got a question, excuse me.
oh, no, you're gonna wait.
Okay.
So we do have people waiting in the
We
Zoom
got
room.
people on Zoom. That was my, but as soon as we're done with them, I'll get back to you. It's gonna cost you an apple and a half.
So next I have a person who was trying to comment on iPhone 2, so I don't know your name, so please state your full name and address for the record.
Is that me?
I think so.
iPhone 2?
622 Fabian Road. I'm not an expert in cannabis growing, but my wife has 2 degrees from University of Rhode Island, and
You need to speak up, sir.
I can see who it is. Richard, I can see you. Your connection is quite poor. So please do your best to get as close to your microphone as you can and speak slowly and clearly.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, it has to be, if we're gonna talk about airborne and subterranean contaminants in the farm-friendly Thompson, we grow an awful lot of silage-grade corn to feed dairy and feed-grade cattle. And, that makes a lot more contaminant than 300 weed plants. 300 weed plants are gonna produce an harvest about the size of a roll of hay bale. It's gonna take one guy in a pickup truck to move all that. I'd like to address the stigmas, but we don't have all day for that. It's not, if you grow tomatoes, our big crop over here at Little Farm is something called Ennemedia annua. It's sweet Annie. It's the exact same growth cycle as cannabis. You had bad tomatoes last year because you had too much water and not enough sun. If you had great tomatoes this year, you had a perfect mixture of sun and rain. It's going to be ridiculously difficult to grow a medical grade marijuana outside, and the hemp grade, paper grade hemp is coming, and that's going to destroy anybody's outside, because you can't. These plants are all females, the good ones, the ones that are sellable are females. If you grow outdoor hemp, it's going to germinate those guys' plants, and they're not ever going to produce. Outdoor marijuana is going to go the way of a pickleball court. It'll last 1 year. We'll see. But I was on the United States just Thomas Jefferson in 1978, 1980. 75% of that crew smoked marijuana. These guys are nuclear weapons experts. We pointed the weapons at the Russians. 21
guys were busted on a piss test and ruined their lives. I wasn't one of those guys, lucky enough. But the stigmas are from 1914 through Ronald Reagan, and I had a friend who was a merchant seaman before the Harrison Act, and when you see those photographs of guys in their tavern pipes, there's not tobacco or not tobacco alone in those pipes. It was whatever they got at the last Liberty Port, hash, keef, whatever, and they're having a pipe pull. And
Richard,
yes,
I'm gonna have to cut you off because you're on time now. And we
okay,
have
thanks for
somebody stacked
letting
up
me speak.
behind you. Okay.
I love you guys, and Ken. I love you guys, and Ken. How'd I do?
So I have somebody else stacked up for comment in the Zoom room, identified on screen as KPT. So please state your name and your address before you make your comments.
This is Catherine Rucho Thorson, and my brother already spoke. We're at 0 Hill Road, is part of the Rucho Family Trust. And as my brother said, we own about 50 acres of the property for about 50 years, and we are right against the property. And just overall, been very impressed with everybody and all the research they've done. And we are against this cultivation facility going in. There's many concerns I have. Many of them have already been brought up. One thing is, the plan as it is today, once they get the permit, they can change. I have a hard time believing that 2 people, I'm sorry, but are going to be able to do all this work without other people coming in and out. Another concern is, of course, the smell, and it's the children. This stuff is, you're breathing, kids can't play outside. It's going to cause a lot of health issues. And for all the revenue that has been stated that will come in, there's obviously revenue, as it's brought up, that things will go down. So I think you have to quantify that before you do the sound bites. And as someone else said as well, the 12 feet, the fact that, I'm sorry, Ron, that you didn't know about the 12 feet to fencing is a big concern, because that's one very simple fact that should have been known. And that's a big concern. So we, as I said, we've owned this land for a long time, 50 years. And the whole point of it was to have this fresh, wonderful, opened air area. And, the smell of marijuana certainly, and all the other environmental challenges that will become from a marijuana plant are all of concern. So we are not for this. We appreciate your time, and thank you for everyone taking all their time and effort for this. It's a long night, and been very impressive, all the efforts that have been made tonight and before this. Thank you.
Last call for comments in the Zoom room. Valerie?
Valerie Clark, Alm Road. I thought that the Chase Hill group made a very significant statement that I haven't heard addressed. And that was that they read regulations and cited that the applicant needed to have the permitting process approved before they could apply. And it has not been addressed. And then in addition to that, I would like to know how many of these sticky traps are required to mitigate pests for cannabis? And are those sticky traps discerning and will only capture cannabis pests, or are they going to also capture beneficial insects? Thank you.
You're up.
Relationship to the, state license, he needs the local, any applicant needs local approval before, they can apply to the state. And that same thing happened on, Riverside Drive when we were approving the cannabis dispensary. They need the permit before he went up to the state. Now, if that's changed, the attorney sitting here, he can research it and correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have to research it now, but I mean.
No, we can read what they submitted.
Yeah. Correct.
Hang on, I know we got, you go ahead, gentlemen, first.
Just a quick question, probably the lawyer is the one, ironically, it's a forensic scientist. The regulations for any kind of environmental impact, such as runoff, such as the use of any rooting hormones. In the future, simply because I got my 300 pounds of organic that I'm just gonna dump right back on the property. What prevents anyone, I'm not saying you guys, if someone comes in and buys it after you and wants to roll with that, that's fine. What prevents them then from using something such as colchicine or a rooting hormone, which could affect the overall environmental impact? Are they then required to go back any changes to any chemicals for an environmental impact assessment on not only the plant, the insects, but the animal life in the area, which is also mine, because that's my backyard as well as these fine people right here, I live on Chase. So that was kind of my thing was, does there have to be an additional environmental impact assessment or anything if chemicals are used after this is all approved, we'll say?
That's a good point, sir. I was just gonna, thank you, I was just gonna say that.
Before anybody responds, just for the sake of the record, could you re-identify yourself?
Yeah.
So the
Eric
recording.
Frida, 367 Chase Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, young lady. There was a young lady, I thought she put her hand up. That was you. Go ahead.
My name is Angela Miller. I live at 338 Chase Road. The bottom line is what we're talking about is complete destruction of a perfectly good neighborhood. We're talking about little children that will not be able to breathe fresh air. They won't be able to have play dates or birthday parties without being forced to smell offensive putrid odors that will linger for a very long time. This is a wonderful community. We don't deserve to be in this position. We're fighting for our neighborhood tonight.
Young lady. We need your name and address. Did you?
She said it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking of one thing.
It will be detrimental to our neighborhood.
I understand. I understand.
I got a question.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Donna Poitras and I live at 210 Hill Road and we are right downwind. My question is basically to the committee. Thompson's regulations say that with cannabis, you have to be 1,000 feet from school, daycare, or a library. My question to you is, why wasn't resident part of that? Thank you.
Any other comments? From the residents of the residents, how about the commissioners? You got anything to say about this?
Over here.
Where? Okay.
Got a hand up here.
Terena Suggs, 414, I'm sorry. Terena Suggs, 414 Chase Road. So I'm just wondering, clearly there will be benefit to the owners, the cultivators. There may be benefit to the town, but what is the benefit to our neighborhood? That's it. Thank you.
There is. Go ahead. You're gonna be the last one.
Regarding the special permit
You could
application,
just your name and address.
Jonathan Miller, 338 Chase Road, Thompson, Connecticut. Regarding the special permit application and the accompanying proposal, I was just wondering where certain things that I thought might be relevant were, because they seem to be missing. Those would include water yield report, a water discharge permit from the state, irrigation water proposal, detailed narrative describing the proposal, location of all water courses, pesticide impact report, because it's not just pesticides, it's herbicide, insecticide, nematodes. Do you know what nematodes are? Because they use that in cannabis cultivation. Nematodes are ringworms. They can introduce those to help with pest control. The farm nearby, I don't think he'd like that very much. Proposed drainage, erosion and sediment control plan, stormwater management provisions, exterior lighting plan, hazardous waste and waste material disposal plan, location of rock outcroppings, schedule for construction or other developmental activities, identification of rare or endangered species and associated report, residential property devaluation report, environmental impact report, and revenue report or projections.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm gonna have a question for you. Is that state regulations or any town regulations?
It's a mixture of both.
Can I have a copy of that? Can we have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know.
Can we have it?
Okay. I gave it to you.
Yeah, the only thing that we
It's
would-
in the larger thing. It's in the larger thing.
We have that copy.
Yeah, we have.
The only thing we would deal with is what's in the state in a local legislation, so we can review that. but-
Review.
But it's only a guard.
I'm just trying to keep it, you know. All right, now we got,
Yeah, I mean, that's. So you have to keep the public hearing. Yeah.
yes, Mr. Secretary.
I would like to make a motion to extend this hearing for another date. I think that in light of the excellent amount of information that was provided, I think that the commission as a whole is going to need more time to review. So I think that we're going to have to take our time here and push this out because it's already 9:30 and I think we've gone through all the points that we possibly could at this point.
So your motion is to table to the next meeting?
We're going to table to the next, continue the public hearing is the
hearing.
exact wording, excuse me.
Is there a second?
October 28th, which will be here in this room because there's early voting, so the meeting is scheduled for this room on the calendar.
Is there a second? Well, yeah. Anybody the second to extend? Motion made by Ryan Canoia to extend this hearing. Public. Yes. to October 28, 2024, and seconded by Randy Blackcomb. Are there any little discussion about it?
Mr. Lanky, Mr. Lanky,
Yes.
I just, where does that put us on action dates?
You're fine because you didn't open the hearing until tonight.
Great, thank you.
No, any other discussion? Hearing none? Take a poll. Start with you, Mr. St. Ange.
Dave's not seated, so Randy's up next.
No, Randy,
Oh. Yes, to extend.
yes to extend. Okay. Mr. Hill? No?
No.
Mr. Robbins?
No.
No. Mr. Kruger?
No.
Mr. Canoia?
Mr. Canoyer, no.
And John B. Lanky? Yes.
And don't forget Mr. Perotti Brown.
And Mr. Perotti Brown?
Yes.
Motion failed.
Six for yes. Six no, and 4 yes.
Motion fails.
Motion failed.
Just so the audience is clear, that was the motion as to whether to continue. That is not a vote to approve or not approve.
Or to even close. Or close, yes. So on that note, hearing's still open.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I second that one. Hang on a minute there again.
Can I
Okay,
just suggest that before we close the public hearing, the applicant to given the opportunity to respond to issues that were raised. I mean, it's up to you, but. I would suggest that.
you second it? Yes, I did.
Rich, as a clarification, anything that was raised in the public hearing can still be discussed by the commission or the applicant once it's closed, right? We just can't,
Yeah, we just, I'm sorry.
You can't hear from the applicant after you close the public hearing. So if the applicant has anything to say about what was discussed in the public hearing, and you want him to respond to that, it has to be before you close the public hearing.
fair enough, sir.
Okay.
I don't know if I can make a comment, but we're sort of running out of time. We have a huge agenda here.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna close the public hearing.
Can I just say one thing? Because I'm sorry.
Sure, she wants to say.
Point of order.
She is the applicant.
Point of order, please. We made a motion. It was made and seconded it. Before anything else is done, we need to vote on that motion.
That's right, Jane, I agree with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Could fall under discussion on the motion.
What's that?
Discussion on the motion.
We have to have a discussion on the motion before you can vote on it.
Okay.
You made the motion, seconded by Ray.
Seconded, and normally we now take a vote on that motion.
No, you have a discussion, then you take a vote on it.
Well, I vote that we have heard from everybody in this room tonight. I personally have nothing against pot. I do like the smell a little bit, like I stated earlier. Would a 50s child, would I want it in my neighborhood? No, I would not. Not with my children, not with elderly, not with people with health issues. I, sir, have the same thing that you have. I'm COPD with asthma and emphysema. There is no way I could live next to that. And I would have to move, which I don't think we should be doing that to our residents here in the town of Thompson. Protect their families. We live in this town for a reason. It's a great community. It's a good place to raise children. All 9 of the children in my family got raised here. So I believe that this is something, and we're not, me personally, I got elected. I did not get elected just to pay attention to the regulations. I got elected because I told the people I would stand up for them. And you have.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
And the majority of people in this community.
Mr. Chairman,
Do not want to see this come into their neighborhood.
Okay.
And that's right. So I said it.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Joseph.
the motion is to close the public hearing or not. This isn't about the decision to approve or not. Can we limit discussion to closing the public hearing or not?
Well, you took it a little far.
No, you said we weren't going to do that, we had to speak on it.
Well, I just asked for your discussion. There's a difference.
Well,
Not giving a speech. You gave a speech.
okay, I gave a speech. Sorry, people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're gonna vote on it.
Yeah.
Discussion. Go ahead.
I just think in all fairness, they've been here for 2 hours and 40 minutes and she's one of the applicants. She has a right for 3 minutes to say what she wants to say.
Okay.
First of all,
Who?
Over
You
here,
gotta turn
please.
this way, over here.
I'm
Name and address, please.
I'm Michelle Chipman. I live at 196 Hill Road in Thompson.
You have to speak up a little bit.
I want to address everybody in this room. Thank you all for coming. I have some dear friends here who we met. I value their friendship.
You need to
I
be.
am
placed-
very, very saddened by the distance I've been getting. We understand where you're all coming from. We certainly do. We have children ourselves. We love this town. We moved here from Massachusetts a year ago, hoping to live in a community that accepted us, love us as we love all of you in this town. We have children that are in the cannabis industry that have answered a lot of our questions. This is something we wanted to think about, consider on a very small scale. Not, we can't do 300 plants. That's as many as we can put in there. After listening to you all tonight, I want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I put you all into this upset mode. I understand where you're all coming from. I feel like I should have said something sooner. We love our property. We thought maybe utilize it to make some extra money. You know, we didn't think about the extent of it all. Seriously, I understand where you're coming from. I can't say it enough. And I don't want to change how you feel. We're withdrawing tonight. We don't want.
Rich, procedurally, do they need to do anything for the withdrawal at this point? Procedurally, does the commission need to do anything specific at this point?
Motion to accept.
Okay. She just said they're withdrawing.
All commissioners and everything for you. We're accepting the withdrawal and everything, so there will be no vote. Done. Now, can we go on? So
From my motion.
it's done. Once they withdraw, it don't mean nothing now. All right, now on to next application, PZC.
Hold on, John. Why don't you give them a minute? Why don't you give them a minute to file out and then call the next?
All right, sorry.
We're just gonna hold the action on the next public hearing until folks have cleared out just because of the noise. This more or less is the intermission. As soon as everybody's cleared out, they're gonna
All
go
right,
back right
time
to
out.
order.
People, hold on, we're gonna take about a 2 or 3 minute break here, so we can,
You're not seated.
get everybody undone.
It's a good thing.
For the folks in the Zoom room, we're apparently taking a short recess for everyone to stretch their legs before we move on.
Good, so, a little tired.
That's why
Good, yourself? Yep. Yeah.
Probably go home. Yeah, head start. Or what's your seat? That's all I know. Yeah, I don't really know if it's coming back. Yeah. Probably in the size conference that they schedule and so forth. Usually we decide on what goes into the record, and then the first read is 45 days after that. Second read is 45 days after that, and then the third one is 30 days after that. And then you get 46 and 12. Probably, and I think the other thing too is that early on in the process, the parties basically decide whether that's the possibility of media. You're right. You have to sit here for 4 hours. Listen, yeah, I have 2 little kids, I just need 5 minutes. You're almost, yeah. Yeah. They can. That's how it goes sometimes. I'm up next. Okay. All right. We get this thing. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would make dinner.
Yeah, I know.
Here, have an apple. It's from the orchard, it's from Woodstock. Yeah. It is.
Yeah, like I was.
I did not throw it in the bag, no.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna take 30 seconds. We're gonna keep it moving, yeah. We don't have wetlands, so we'll move it right along. Yeah, give me 30 seconds.
You're with me, right? Right. I had dinner because I was nervous. I didn't realize. I thought I closed it. Well.
Exactly, yeah, you don't have that much time. You have somebody yelling. Right, just say, oh, I know.
How much time did you give them, John? We're at how much time did you give them? We're at 9:45.
I'm ready to go.
Roll them in.
All right. I just said,
I have a list of everybody who signed up, and I did my best on the Zoom comments, but I know who this person was. I didn't catch that, but it'll be on the report.
All right. Meeting will now come back to order. And,
Jane would like 5 minutes. Jane would like 5 minutes. Jane Salsey would like 5 minutes.
oh, she's up there, I just told her to get her.
I know, I'm telling you, she was walking, she said I need 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is a problem on the engine. Yeah.
Oh, but you have to stay there.
I have to stay for JJS, yeah, I'll be here till the end.
Good, you got a good, thank God you're done.
You and me both, babe.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
My kids. 3 hours now. They're all gonna be on at 5.
Yes, it
Yes, huh? They're part of here.
Which one, see, what up?
Home occupation and I want to.
There you go.
I guess he's not here.
What did you say?
Connor, are you here?
We're just waiting for Jane to come back.
Wait for Jake, did Kai's leave?
Yeah, Kai's left. Kai's left.
Well, I might need, oh, I got Mr. Polowski.
Close
I
enough.
don't see another.
Still on back.
Oh, I have to write
Hey,
it down.
at least I don't call you late.
Right here, guys.
You got the newer one that's.
Yes, I do.
Huh?
Jeez, is that bullshitting again?
Yeah.
We'll go grab her.
I don't know, she's better not.
All right, as long as we have the spare time, is there anybody other than the one person who signed up who would like to comment on the subdivision public hearing? Thank you. If so, while we're waiting, come put your name on.
No, it's not gonna be a.
Well, one person did sign up.
Oh, come on, Jane, let's go. All right, meeting's back in order at
Midnight.
9:50. All right, next on the agenda is the P&Z. All right, Commissioners.
Did you say we had to? If we want to just say.
Dave, you are,
Just on the subdivision.
will be
public
probably be
hearing.
using
Not
your,
right,
I'm
it's
not
fine.
100% sure yet, okay? So,
No, I'm ready.
I know you are, you're always ready, that's why you're here, that's why I like you. Okay, application PZC 24-26, MI Cat LLC, Max Candidates, property owner of 183 Thompson Road, map 87, block 37, lot 3, zone PCVD, 3.16 acres, requesting a re-subdivision permit for 3 lots according to the Town of Thompson subdivision regulations, Article 3, Section 4A-1. There, hang on, is there a motion?
I make a motion.
That was good. With the,
We can move this along.
we can move.
There are people who want to comment on this, Mr. Chairman, just so you know.
Have the representative of the applicant here to speak to you.
All right.
And it relates to my memo that I wrote about this application.
Gotta find it, I'm just.
Well, it would be the last part of it. Please,
Okay, is Mr. Candace here, or you're representing Mr.
Yes, sir.
Candace? You may proceed, sir.
All right, thank you. My name is Daniel Blanchette. I'm the civil engineer working on this project. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant Max Candidis. He recently purchased the property 183 Thompson Road. It has just over 3 acres. He's proposing to cut off 2 new 1-acre lots to construct 2 new single-family homes. We do not have wetlands approval at this time. I don't expect any votes. And in consideration of the late hour, I would request that we continue this till the following meeting.
now, here, or we're not opening the public hearing?
I did.
Oh, you did?
I make a motion that we continue it to the next.
There might be some people from the public who want to speak. I don't know if we should give them,
There are 2 people who have signed up to give comment.
they waited for 3 hours.
I withdraw my motion.
Go ahead, Tara, who are the 3 people?
Okay, Michael Bond is first.
I would have come back, but no problem.
No, you don't have to.
I just had a few questions, concerns.
And your name and address, please.
Oh, Michael Bond, 34 Lambert Road, Thompson, resident 20 years. I'm concerned about, even though it's not my property, it's practically in my backyard. And the driveway, does that have to be 25 feet from the property lines? Or because it's not a building, can it be right alongside our property?
That's correct. It's my understanding that driveways don't have to meet a building setback.
Okay.
They're not a structure.
After 20 years of living here, moving here from Framingham, growing up in Manchester, Weathersfield, we're here for the privacy. I'm gonna have headlights coming down into my living room and bedroom now. Is there anything that can be done to minimize this, or is the owner gonna try to keep the houses as private as possible?
Are you just one of the properties up top there, sir?
Where are we here?
One of those 2. Let me look at my map.
Yeah, this makes no sense to me.
So this is the road here. This is the existing, and these are the 2 proposed.
Michael Bond.
So, this lot is gonna be down here, okay?
Correct,
This is
yeah.
The wetlands.
Yeah, so I would say at the next meeting, the applicant will be here, and I think that's a great concern. I think the applicant would be very willing to plant some sort of landscaping or shrubbery or something to give you more privacy.
Even for the people buying the house, they're gonna want, they're moving out here to probably get away from something like that. Okay. Maybe I'll have more when I come back.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, all right, cool.
And you're looking for a shared driveway.
One driveway for both houses. yeah.
Right, right.
Be a front house and then a house in the back.
Correct, yes.
Did that change? Because I read online, on our zoning regulations that it's not allowed in any district of Thompson.
That's obsolete information.
It is?
Yes.
Oh, well, it's on there still, just so you know. What about the 150% of the property needs to be larger for the interior?
You're looking at an older version of the regulations. None of that stuff's in there.
Wish I would have known that, but. Okay, however, voiced my concern there, I guess.
Yeah,
Just don't want to see this turn into Manchester or Framingham.
Of course, I'd encourage you to come to the next meeting, speak with the applicant. I think he's a good guy. He'll listen.
Okay, awesome.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for letting me talk.
One more.
Go ahead.
So Andrew Syme,
I may be under misunderstanding.
could you just come up to closer to the microphone and give your name and address?
We have 3-acre zoning.
Name and
No.
address, sir.
Huh? Oh,
Name and
Andy
address.
Sign, 129 Chase Road. You need an acre for a house, right? thought they-
40,000 square feet, which is slightly less than an acre.
Right, I thought they were gonna try and pack 3 more houses onto that little lot. Like they did at the end of Buckley Hill Road. I can't
That's-
imagine
That's
6
different,
families
that's
on
different,
3/4 of an
that's
acre.
different zoning.
That was a different, that's a
Oh,
different zone.
okay.
This,
So, all right, I can understand that. My concern was if you were gonna reduce the requirements for a house to something less than 3 acres, you're opening a floodgate of houses to come in. I see a lot of hayfields that aren't getting used now. And they're not gonna just stand there and grow weeds. All right?
Duly noted.
anybody else?
Name and address.
My name is Joe Ruda. I live at 195 Thompson Road. And I'm just totally against this subdivision. I moved from Woonsocket, which is a city, houses on top of houses. I moved there 20 years ago. I came because I liked the property, the spacing, the way the land was laid out, you know, privacy. And now I'm gonna have to look at 2 new houses over the stone wall. So I'm just totally against it. I don't like it. I don't think it should be done.
Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
Hold on, let me take the screen share off. Are there any comments in the Zoom audience before we move on? Raise your hand if you can. If you can't raise your hand and you have a comment, just take yourself off mute and announce yourself. All set?
Yeah,
All set.
all set? Okay. Go ahead.
Make a motion that we push this, table it to next month, and because I would like. to talk
Second.
to the applicant.
No, you gotta use the word continue.
Continue, okay, I make a motion to continue this.
Application PZ,
That's what I'm going for, on application PZC 24-26. Okay.
A second.
motion made by Jane Salcy, seconded by Ray Benoit.
Ryan Canoyer.
Ryan Benoit, jeez.
Oh, you guys agree.
Getting late.
Getting late, that's why, it's almost. I could still, never mind, I ain't gonna say. Motion made and seconded by Ryan Benoit. Any small discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, instead of wasting more trees, we should probably just hang on to this paper.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Is there any other from the commissioners? If not, we'll put it to a vote. We'll start with Mr. Kruger.
Mike Crowley, yes. Ray Williams, yes. Russell Ron, yes.
Jane Salty, yes.
Brian Knorr, yes.
John B. Lanky, yes. And Mr. Joseph Brody Brown.
Joseph Brody Brown, yes.
Unanimous. All right. Number 4, discussion of a public hearing. None. Number 4. What do you got? You got nothing? Okay. All right, we go to another one of our favorite James Olson thing. Citizen comments. Any citizen comments?
Citizen comments unrelated to the public hearing.
Hearing none? We move on to number 6, approval A, planning during regular meeting minutes. Motion? Or is there a motion to accept the planning? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Top.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I just think you need to clarify for the record that that's the regular meeting for the August meeting.
oh, you're right, I didn't put that.
Yes, you did.
I couldn't hear you, Randy.
Any discussion? Hearing none? Start with you, Mr. Canoia.
Ryan, Canoyer, yes.
Jason Sinaj, yes.
All the other.
Ms. Salty, yes.
Dr. Rob, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Michael abstains.
John B. Linky, yes, and Mr. Brody Brown.
I vote yes, and I want to state for the record that though absent, I did listen to the recording, and so vote yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So we got 9 yes and 1 abstain.
I make a motion that we approve PZC subcommittee meeting minutes.
You want the chair?
Right now, yeah.
You're the problem. But thank you for that anyway. A motion made to accept the P and Z subcommittee minutes. Of, what's the date? What was it?
I would have to look back.
September 12th.
Was there a second?
No, there wasn't.
I second the motion.
Okay. Who made the motion again?
James.
Jane, oh, God. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll start with you, Mr. Krugel.
I will abstain if it's not.
Okay, 1 abstain,
2 abstains.
2 abstain.
Three
Okay.
abstains.
I vote yes. Jay
Hang on a
Salty.
minute, you just jumped over Ryan, oh,
He abstained.
damn it. All right, Jane, go ahead. Alvin Hill,
Yeah, yes.
Randy Blackburn. Jason,
Abstain.
okay, Ryan,
Yes.
John B. Lakey, yes. And Mr. Joseph Brody Brown,
Yes.
thank you.
Ties wasn't seated.
Ties didn't seat. Yeah, she left. The only one that,
Okay, all right.
And for the record, she is actually in the Zoom room now. She dialed in from,
okay.
but she's not seated, so.
Numbers, we got that one all done. Number 7, applications received. You're up there, Leo, any applications received?
Well, yeah, 24, 27, Cheryl Koviak is accepted for a public hearing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I move that we accept application 2427 for a public hearing at our next regular meeting on October 28th at 7 p.m. in the library.
I'll second that.
okay. Joseph Brody Brown makes the motion, Jane seconds it. Any discussion? Hearing none, start with you, Miss Salzy.
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Mr. Blackman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanos, Ray,
Yes.
Russ Roberts, Mike Krugel,
Yes.
Yes.
Ryan Fenoya,
Yes.
John B. Lakey, yes, and Mr. Joseph Brody Brown.
It's a good night for Salsi Parodi Brown motions. I vote yes.
So all unanimous, it's unanimous. Okay, next one is application PZC 24-28, Richard F. Piera, property owner of 98 Donovan Drive.
It's actually not Richard, it must have spell checked itself, it's Barney.
Oh, well, I'm going by what's here.
Yeah, I know, I'm looking at that, but not that.
98 Donovan Drive, map 3, block 80, lot 2E, zone RRAD, 1.24 acres. Requesting a home occupation permit to conduct the sale of single-use vehicle via online platform according to the town of Taunton zoning regulations. Article 14-275-14.1, home occupation permit. Single-use vehicle is only one vehicle for sale located on the property at any time.
Yes, I agree.
What, may I speak on this before the applicant, since I
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Okay.
But because of the home occupation, I generally approve those. I would like to read my reasons why I brought it forward to you.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so. The applicant is looking to conduct a used car business via media sales and will only park one vehicle at a time on his property. In the record are copies of the ZBA certificate of approval and a summary of information he presented to the ZBA. To qualify for a motor vehicle permit, he needed the certificate of approval from the ZBA. Because the district is RRAD, he will need a home occupation permit from zoning. I generally approve the home occupation permits, but due to the nature of this type of business in a residential district, I do not feel comfortable signing my name to the permit without the PCC's approval to conduct this online business in the RRAD district. So he wrote, I put in the record, he wrote 10 points, I think he gave to the ZBA members, if you have them, if you want to repeat them.
Yes,
too.
can I get, he's on.
Yeah, but the ZBA approved it, with the conditions, as it says on his application, in the record here.
You have it right there?
Oh, no, it's not in here, because it wasn't put back in, but I have it here, sorry.
So the fifth time?
Yeah, no, but 25th. Okay. Okay, I get on that. All right, so what did you ask me if I have? I have the certificate of approval. And here's the justification I gave to
The ZBA.
ZBA. My question was, the description of your intention to apply for a motor vehicle dealership license from the Department of Motor Vehicle, State of Connecticut. Intention is to be able to go to the auction to buy a vehicle for a cheap, affordable price. The second question was process of selling your automobile. Vehicles will be posted online only. Example, Facebook, no dealership sign or dealership advertisement of the property 98 Donovan Drive, Quinnipiac, Connecticut. How many automobiles will be parked on your property? He listed the vehicles that he already has on his property that he and his family own. And he said that he would only be putting one vehicle at a time on the property. Where will the automobiles for sale be located? Of course, there's only one automobile, and I believe I put the picture of this property in your record too. So there's plenty of room for them to park. How often will how many okay, he answered that question number 4. You didn't answer 4, okay. No, you didn't answer 4, Ricardo. But anyways, that's okay.
So that's the one.
How often will customers come to your property to view the automobiles? Customers will come to the property when they answer our advertisement. Hard to tell how many. What I can only say is that not many customers will come for each car. All sale and negotiation will be done online and over the phone. Customers will come only to personally see and test drive the car and take it away if they like the vehicle. Possible customer meeting at different locations. 6, designation of additional parking spaces on the property for customers. No need for additional parking spaces. It will be no more than one customer at a time. Since this will be online sale only, customer will come by appointment only. 7, time and date of operation. He works full time overnight shifts whenever I and the customer are available to meet. Number 8, any other information you deem is necessary to support your application. Right now, the ideal is to sell 1 car every 30 to 45 days. If demand starts to be more than 3 cars per month, I will rent a place to run a full car dealership business. The conditions for the condition approval: no more than 1 vehicle for sale as part of the property, no vehicle repair on any sale vehicle located on property. And if I get a complaint against those conditions, then it gets everything. Any questions? So, Ricardo, you're next.
That's fine.
There's your applicant, Ricardo. I
Yeah.
can't pronounce your last name.
That's Parada, Ricardo Parada, 98 Donovan Drive in Quinnipiac. Yeah, I'm open to questions if you guys have any.
You figure primarily passenger vehicles?
Just passenger vehicles. And no trucks, no big trucks. And
And you're not gonna do any work in the yard where you bringing them?
I already have a full hand. I work at least 40 hours a week. And I'm not planning to do any repairs on a car or anything like that. So the car will be parked in my driveway, ready to go, buy and go.
You have a repair plate or dealer plate so that you can?
Well, that's what I'm going, the goal is here for. So as soon as I got the approval here, I go to the DMV and get the dealership license plate. I can get a dealership license plate without the town approval. That's the process to get the dealership license plate. That's the only way I can go to buy a vehicle.
He had, Mr. Blackman, he went to the ZBA, applied for a variance before he could come to us for a home office.
Auctions want to sell to
Yeah.
you if you have a dealership without a license plate.
All right, go ahead, Ray.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve PZC 24-28 with the conditions from the ZBA.
I'll second that.
Okay, you two gotta,
Hey, you sat us together.
I didn't, you sat there together by yourselves. Okay, the motion was made by Ray Williams. Seconded by Jane Salsi. Any discussion?
Mr. Linky, if I may,
What's that, Mr. Brody?
I just have a question for the ZEO.
Okay, go ahead.
Cindy, I appreciate your elevating this to the commission. I know the language in the regulations is there for that reason. Aside from, that I'm assuming it's because it has to deal with motor vehicles and that sometimes gets to be a touchy subject. Is there anything that concerned you in this HOMOC?
No, I have confidence that Ricardo is going to do as the conditions are required. He did not have anyone come to the ZBA speaking against his application, and he had to send the letters and had to sign out his house for 14 days. So that was an indication, as he had told me, that he had talked to his neighbors, and his neighbors didn't have a problem with one vehicle. And I don't know if he minds me teasing, but his wife said only one vehicle, so.
Right.
Listen to the wife.
So we all know women, so it'll probably only be one vehicle. And of course, he knows if I get any complaints against what the conditions are, then he, everything gets pulled.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate it.
And I agree with that.
Any other comments, discussion from the members? Hearing none, we'll vote. We'll start with you, Mr. Hill.
Alvin Hill, yes.
Jason Salem, yes.
Mike Krugel,
Mike Kruger, yes.
Ray Williams, yes.
Uncle Ron, yes.
Jane Salzman, yes.
Ryan Canori, yes.
John B. Linky, yes, and Mr.
Joseph Brody Brown, yes.
Oh, it's unanimous. Let's
Yay.
move
Thank you
on.
very much, Liz.
Good luck.
Have a good
You'll
night.
get your permit in the mail.
Okay, thanks, Miss Cindy.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, next one up is P and Z 24-29, Miranda Burmeiser, property owner Neil P. LLC of 423 Riverside Drive, map 85 lot 95 lot 10A, requesting a zoning permit with site plan review by the commission to continue the use of an existing daycare center business according to the town of Thompson zoning regulations, Article 12, 275-12.2, number 10. Any,
Mr. Linky, if I may.
what's that, Mr. Brody Brown?
Cindy, this is currently a daycare?
Yes, it's currently a daycare,
And
and not like anything of A and B, Article 4, A and B, because it's there, if you want to ask a question, but It's just the no.
It's a continuation
Yeah,
of what's
it's a
there.
continuation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would move the approval of application 24-29.
I'll
Okay,
second it.
all right. Motion made by
Thank you.
Mr. Joseph Brody Brown to accept the application PC 24-29. Seconded by Jane Salcy. And, any other further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start with you, Mr. Blackman. I asked if there was any discussion, I heard none, so I'm making it that you're gonna start the vote. Randy Blackmer, yes. Russ,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Mike Krugel,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
John B. Linky, yes, and Mr. Joseph Brody Brown.
Yes.
Oh, all in favor unanimously. On to the next one.
Yay.
You're welcome, ma'am. P and Z 24-30 JJS Construction. Wojciech Sudikia, property owner of 1574 Riverside Drive, map 55, block 65, lot 14, zone TCPD. Request a gravel operation permit according to the town of Thompson Planning zoning regulations, article 14, 275-14.3. Do I hear, are we gonna accept this for a public hearing?
Mr. Linky,
Yes,
I move to accept application 2430 for a public hearing at our next regular meeting on Monday, October 28th, 2024 at 7 PM in the library.
Alvin Hill already had his hand up. Alvin Hill seconds it. To accept P and Z 2430, P and Z 24-30. Is there any discussion?
Yes,
Right.
right here. You just trying to, you're getting the gravel permit because the material you need to move in order to put the building in exceeds the 1,500 yards, is it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's not a commercial gravel bank, but the zoning regulations make us apply for one due to the amount of dirt that we're pushing around.
Do you have a place where the excess dirt is gonna go?
We don't foresee to have any excess material unless it's raw loam, which we probably. It's tough to say how much exactly we're gonna have in excess. But after the point of the gravel permit, either way, for export or import gravel.
We're only accepting this for a public hearing for the next meeting.
He's just moving the dirt on his property.
Okay.
Makes it just degrade so that he can put a building there. My question whether he even needs to gravel permit to do that. I will, instead of making him get a permit, then just waive it on this particular case.
For you? You, sir.
No, too much went into this from the inland wetlands agent,
Okay.
in discussion with the inland wetlands agent, and with Star agreement. That, they deal with the inland wetlands, and then I deal with the gravel operation, but there was, because he does have someone coming in, he did have someone coming in to remove some of that product, right?
Correct.
So that's.
Okay, so somebody else is removing a product and taking it out. That kind of changes it.
It's site preparation is what he's doing, it's not, he's not doing that to sell gravel. If everybody's happy,
Go ahead, Dick.
It's an existing permit, isn't it? We approved
No,
this.
he has a special permit to build a building.
Well, we approved it.
The special permit, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's moving back, and this has been moved a little bit.
For gravel, because people are, because he does have a company that will be coming in and taking product off the land, yes.
I was under the understanding that if 1,500 yards is moved, regardless if for export or import, It needs to be a gravel permit.
I concur. That was my understanding as well, which I don't necessarily agree with, but that's what I thought the regulation stated. Even if it's not leaving the site, just pushing dirt around, stripping topsoil in excess of 1,500 cubic yards. We were told we had to submit an application for a earth processing operation.
If everybody's happy with it, that's fine, but I disagree.
It is, there is a section in.
All right, people, please. One at a time.
There is a section in the gravel operations, regulations, and that will be given to you under my review. So. Yeah. It should go to a public hearing.
Okay, any other discussion or anything? If not, we'll take it to a vote. And we'll start with you, Mr. Robbins.
I've seen.
Okay, James? Alvin?
Yeah.
Mr. Blackman?
Kathy, I'll say yes.
Okay, Mr. St. Ange?
Jason said, I'll just.
Ray?
Yes.
Mike Krogel?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
John B. Linky, yes, and Mr. Joseph Brody Brown.
Yes.
Okay, we got nine yes and one abstain. Okay. Number 8. Applications received after the agenda was posted. Do we have any?
No.
Okay, none. Report of officers and staff. We go to Mr. Secretary Treasurer, the budget report.
Yeah.
Abbreviated one, Brian.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we, don't have the paper in front.
Wasn't in the packet.
Yeah.
No.
Look, you're all set.
No, they they're on the COVID.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, you're jumping ahead of ourselves. Yeah.
So what are you doing?
I think he's looking for his budget sheet.
I was looking for the budget sheet, you guys have it? So,
You got it in front of
I
you?
had it earlier.
All right, we're just gonna,
Yeah, let's
I'm
take,
gonna,
let's take a look.
we'll keep looking for it, we'll jump over to the plan.
The usual updates at this time. I will send out a doodle tomorrow for the next subcommittee meeting. The final 65 Main Planning Workshop is this Wednesday here in the library in the nice carpeted room. If you are interested in attending, particularly if you're interested in attending live, please send me an RSVP so that I order the right amount of pizza. We have a big announcement to make. I'm not going to spoil it till then, even though Winnie scooped me this afternoon. I'm still not going to repeat it until then. But anyway, yes, I would certainly encourage you all to go. And just as one final point, I will be here for the October regular meeting. I am actually on vacation that week, so I won't be around during the day. I'll just be coming in to set this stuff up. So just so you know. And that's all I got, guys.
Thank you. Deal.
I have nothing.
Yay, Cindy.
Go ahead. All right, if you haven't found it,
Yeah,
we're just gonna move on. Let me ask you this one question. Has anything changed?
Nothing has changed.
Okay,
I'll submit an email.
okay, that's all you gotta do. I'll write down over here, you will submit. What's that?
We're not in the hole.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
I don't know, Rich has been here kind of a long time.
I know. Okay, number 10, correspondence.
No, I should pay you for this.
Did I ask you?
That's on the record, Rich.
What's that? All right, correspondence, Town of Douglas Planning Board legal notice of public hearing, Town of Webster notification of planning board decision. Town of Webster, notification of planning board decision, Town of Webster, notification of planning board decision, wow. Town of Douglas, planning board, legal notice of a public hearing. Signing of, number 11, signing of MyLars, we have none. Number 12, old business. A, amending special permit PZ 2132.
Which is,
Oh, I think that's
yeah,
good.
we're sitting here now, and, what I do have a question, Daniel, and then you can answer, if they can answer this. Is this important to go over this tonight, and get an answer, or can this wait till next month? It's an amendment the permit.
You have a couple modifications to the special permits that we have already in place.
So is something that you wanted to start yesterday, building that building, or when you going to start building the building?
Well, right now, everything is dependent on the risk committee and the wetland committee. So in the interest of time, if there's something that we can act on that application and we'd like to.
Okay, wetland meets in it's another 2 months for wetland.
I don't want it to be an issue where wetland is waiting on zoning.
The wetland will never wait on them. We'll wait.
We wait on it.
Okay.
So if you want to, because this is like a 3-page discussion on this, as to whether they amend it or.
You did the modifications, rotating the building and stuff like that. Do you want to get into it now? I think the commission would prefer if we table it till the next one.
Man,
Go ahead, finish, Dan. Finish what you were saying.
I sense that the commission would like to handle this at the following meeting, but again, I don't know what your schedule's like. We can get into it, you know, it's fine.
Well, if we do not act on it now, will that affect the outcome of the next meeting?
I don't think it's gonna delay
No.
or, because you have the cease and desist with wetlands, which is gonna take a month or two,
Yeah.
so I don't think we need to act on it tonight.
Go ahead, Jane.
I want to make a motion that we table this till next month, because I would like to hear from the wetlands before we do anything on this, please. Let's not put the horse before, the cart before the horse, so I make a motion.
What, you don't like the?
I'm sorry, can I speak?
Yeah, I'm sorry. John.
On the zoning side of things, we're doing a gravel permit and we're doing a permit modification. On the wetland side of things, we're doing a whole new permit.
No?
So what we have on the agenda right now, I don't think needs wetland approval. Technically, it could be voted on this evening.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so, but he still, before you can do anything, we still have to wait until the wetlands gives him permission, correct?
Yes.
So it's,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, the wetlands have still gotta give the permission, so let's table it like on my motion.
In other words, what you're saying is, Jane, is if we were to approve it tonight, inland wetlands can get a little upset because we have to really get what they feel before we can make that final decision, yes, go. Okay,
And he
All right.
seconded it.
I got it right here.
I guess the reason why I pursued it is because I just want to know if we can do amendments, or does they have to come back for a special permit? If they had to come back for a special permit, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you're just doing amendments, then, but let's do it next month. It's very, this whole project, I'm sorry, it's been very complicated. From the gravel operation too.
But it won't hurt them in the long run,
No, I don't think
for the benefit of the waiting.
No.
So, okay, motion was made by Jane Saucy and seconded by Russ Robin to continue.
I'm sorry.
No, this one is tabled.
I'm sorry.
What's that?
I think this one actually is tabled.
It is tabled?
Because there was nothing open, so there's nothing to continue.
Okay, all right, so it's tabled. Till next month's meeting. Any little comments? Okay, hearing none. We'll start with Mike Krugel.
Involved, yeah.
Jason Shannon, abstain.
One abstain. Brian?
Ryan, yes.
John B. Linky, yes, and Mr. Joseph Brody Brown.
Yes.
9 yes. It's accepted and 1 abstain. Okay, Next on the order,
I just want to let you know that we found the error and where the agenda was that we put the roll call, the opening and pledge of allegiance on the same line. So now it's right. We've got it according to bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay. Training requirements, it's biannual, but I have a paper here that explains the whole thing, legal thing on your training, but it's every 2 years. And we,
And Cindy, everybody has more than enough hours, right?
oh, right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, they changed it every year? Okay, so forget to speak the paper I gave you.
that's what that was asked, that was last.
We'll get a 6-year term.
I thought it was.
Every term. Every term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to get it every 6 years, because we have a 6-year term.
Okay.
Okay.
So that means we don't fall under the 4-year maybe because other boards and commissions or whatever have a 4-year term, we have a 6, so. In that 6-year time, we have plenty of time to get the hours, correct?
You're supposed to do it within 1 year of being appointed, so you probably, either did it when the requirement was put in place.
Yeah.
Or if you were elected after that, you do it within 1 year. And then you don't have to do it again until your next term. So what's it, 6 years on this commission? Unless the law changes, and then you probably wanna.
See, that was a good question you brought up last month. No, it was. Now we got the answer.
So, Mr. Chairman, allow me again to praise our Planning and Zoning Commission for going above and beyond and attending so many continuing ed opportunities, all-day conferences, webinars. As far as I'm concerned on that end, you guys are superstars, so. Superstars,
Super what?
superstars.
All right, now we go to D. The P and Z monthly meeting for October 28, 2024 will be held at the Thompson Public Library, 934 Riverside Drive, due to the early voting, in the Merrill Snee Room. Go to number 13. New business, violation at 1097 and 449 Thompson Road.
Okay, so I wrote it up and it was late in the day. You got it tonight. If you didn't reach your email at 4 o'clock when I sent it, and you got it tonight. This is ongoing. This is not going to be solved yesterday. I just wanted to sort of update everybody. And if we talk about it tonight, it'll be a 2-hour conversation. So why don't you read it, knowing that more letters are going out to owners, a call is being made to one owner because they're in court with it. But this is ongoing. It's not something that this office is sitting back and not doing anything about. The person involved, Dr. Harris, is rude and just a horrible person to deal with. Not the person that Paul DeLeo, the owner of one of the businesses, and I dealt with in February of 2023. So just want to let you know that it is ongoing, constant calls on these properties. And if you have any questions, call me during, the month.
Yeah, because Cynthia's been getting a lot of calls, and then, few of us commissioners did have people get in touch with us that, that live in area. And I'll tell you, it's a mess down here. All right, anything else? Nothing on that one? We
I'll
got
give your updated contact list. It's right this time.
number 14, review of the ZBA minutes. Was there any questions on that? None. Number 15, citizen comments. Anybody in the chat room there?
I'm looking. Nobody has a hand up.
There is not, nobody got a hand up? None. 16, commissioner comments.
No.
Oh, you? No. All right. Any, okay, no commissioner comments?
Wait, I'm sorry, I do have one.
Oh,
And-
damn it.
Yeah.
What's that? Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
He had a good time, he said. Oh,
Red?
raise his hands up.
Mr. Broly Brown up?
Yes.
Yeah, I received an email today from Ms. Washburn, the inland and wetlands agent, or conservation and wetlands agent rather, that there is a new batch of bluebird nest boxes, easy for me to say, and that town volunteers get first dibs. So if you are interested in a bluebird nest box, stop by the Inland and Wetlands office.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Brown. All right, number 17, our next meeting is October 28, 2024 at 7 p.m. Thompson Public Library, 934 Riverside Drive. Don't say it, James. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Meeting ended at 10,
33.
36, 35.
Good night, everyone.
No.